Chapter 4960. Lin Yi couldn't help but rejoice when he thought of this. Fortunately, the three of them had good luck. Otherwise, who knows if the miserable experience of Qin Yu would repeat itself on them. This wasn't impossible. Thinking about Tian Chan and Sydney on Middle Island, they were living examples. After a long silence, Lin Yi let out a long breath and slowly said, "Okay, I know what happened to you. It's not your fault. You don't have to blame yourself too much." "Thank you, Master Lin." Qin Yu bowed slightly, but her expression didn't change much. For a woman like her, whether Lin Yi understood or misunderstood, it didn't matter much. Since the day she gave up, she no longer cared about her reputation. "However, I hope that you don't give up on yourself anymore. I will talk to Qin Danzi. In the future, he will be your backer. Also, if you encounter any trouble again, you can go to Wang Xinyan and Huang Xiaotao. They won't just stand by and watch." Lin Yi paused and continued, "You are now an early-stage mysterious ascension master. When you go to the mysterious sea, it will be a brand new beginning. At that time, work hard and don't give up on yourself. Do you understand?" This. Qin Yu couldn't help but look at Lin Yi in shock. She thought that Lin Yi suddenly asked about her matters on a whim. She didn't expect that this high and mighty Master Lin would take the initiative to help her. For a moment, she didn't know how to react. "As for your matters, I will tell the truth to Jiang Hahai when I have the chance. I don't know what decision he will make, and of course, I won't interfere." Lin Yi sighed. One was an infatuated man, and the other was a bitter woman. From his standpoint, of course, he hoped that the two of them would have a good ending. However, this was obviously not something he could interfere with. Since ancient times, men have always valued a woman's reputation. Especially in a society like Heavenly Island, although Jiang Hahai was infatuated, he might give up after knowing about Qin Yu's matter. "Thank you, Master Lin. I will never forget your great kindness." Qin Yu stood up and bowed to Lin Yi. Her face was a little livelier than before, but there was also some nervousness. Her originally dead state of mind had a slight ripple. But even so, she actually didn't have much hope for the future. She was already a withered willow, and she was already satisfied to be able to do something for her lover. As for anything else, she really didn't dare to ask for more. Once there was hope, there would be greater disappointment and even despair in the end. She didn't want to die again. Lin Yi didn't say much. Qin Yu was suffering from a mental illness, and it needed medication to treat it. Only when she got over it herself could everything get better. "I know you want revenge. Work hard. There will come a day when you can take revenge with your own hands." Lin Yi paused, looked at her and said, "That Jing Tianguang you mentioned, if I wanted to crush him, it would be as easy as flipping my hand. But I can help you once, but I can't help you forever. He is a knot in your heart, and only you can untie it yourself." "Yes." Qin Yu nodded silently. "All right, in the future, whether you pull yourself together or continue to sink, it's all up to you. Go back." Lin Yi said to send her off. Qin Yu looked deeply at Lin Yi, nodded heavily, and left the room. However, before she could take a few steps, the two male disciples who had an ambiguous relationship with her before had already surrounded her. It was Qi Dong and Qin Chang. Although their backgrounds weren't as deep as Bao Zhuliang's, they could still be considered the second generation of cultivation. "What's going on? When did he take a fancy to you?" Qi Dong came up to her with a nervous expression. "That's right, isn't it enough for him to have beauties like Wang Xinyan and Huang Xiaotao? Don't tell me he won't let go of a broken flower like you. Isn't that too lustful?" Qin Chang complained in a low voice. Qin Yu looked at the two with disgust and remembered what Lin Yi had said. She immediately said coldly, "Don't come looking for me in the future. Don't interfere with each other's business, or else don't blame me for being impolite." "Ah." Qi Dong and Qin Chang froze at the same time as they stared at the woman in disbelief. Qin Yu used to be very obedient in front of them, and as long as they gave her training resources, she wouldn't object no matter what they asked her to do. She'd do whatever she wanted, so why was she turning her back on them after just one time? You little hussy, what nonsense are you talking about? You don't want cultivation resources anymore? Or do you want us to find a few people to gang rape you? Qi Dong immediately threatened in an evil tone. Don't think that you can escape from us just because you're at the early profound ascension stage. Let me tell you, with your little strength in the Morning Star Academy, you will forever be trampled on by us, unless you can find a strong backer. Qin Cheng snorted coldly. In this Tyrant's Path trial, the two of them, like most of the other Morning Star disciples, did not succeed in breaking through to the profound ascension stage. Other than their lack of strength, they were also unlucky enough to meet a freak like Lin Yi. Hence, the two of them were naturally inferior to Qin Yu, who was at the early profound ascension stage. They could only use their backer to scare Qin Yu into submission. From now on, I won't let you touch even a finger of mine. If you don't believe me, feel free to try. Qin Yu looked at the two of them coldly, and then turned to leave. Qi Dong and Qin Cheng looked at Qin Yu's back with an ugly expression, not daring to move at all. In that instant, they felt something they had never felt before from Qin Yu, a killing intent. If it was any other Morning Star disciple, even if they had the strength, they might not dare to kill the two of them. But Qin Yu was different. She was a woman with a dead heart. She could do anything without fear. Back then, she was willing to give up on herself, and now that she had the intention to rebel, she would naturally be unrestrained. Would such a woman not dare to kill? Damn it. This little hussy is going against the heavens. When we get back, we must make her suffer. Isn't she just at the early profound ascension stage? What's so great about her? Qin Cheng spat fiercely, and turned to look at Qi Dong. With our background, it'll be easy to find a few experts outside the academy in Morning Star City. Qi Dong, do you want to do it? Humph, no. Qi Dong shook his head decisively. Why? I remember that you're quite brave. When did you become so cowardly that you're even afraid of a profound ascension stage hussy? Qin Cheng said in surprise. I'm brave, but I'm not stupid. Qi Dong looked at him and curled his lips. Of course, there's no need to be afraid of a mere Qin Yu. But now that she has Lin Yi on her side, are you afraid? Chapter 49-61. It could even be said that in front of Lin Yi, he didn't even have the right to speak. With just a glance of dissatisfaction, he would die a horrible death. Moreover, Lin Yi didn't even need to do it himself. His father would have already kidnapped him to apologize. A big shot like Lin Yi wouldn't be interested in such a broken shoe, right? Qin Cheng frowned. The difference between Lin Yi and Qin Yu was like heaven and earth, and Lin Yi didn't lack women by his side. Wang Xinyan, Huang Xiaotao, and even Hui Yudi from the Morning Pride Academy. Which one of them wasn't better than Qin Yu? How did these two end up together? I don't think so, but you saw it too. He just called that coquettish hussy to his room. Who knows if he'll suddenly have a taste? Qi Dong shrugged helplessly. This. Qin Cheng was terrified. If Qin Yu really managed to get a super big backer like Lin Yi, even if it was just once, they definitely couldn't provoke her again. Otherwise, if they really made Lin Yi unhappy, they wouldn't even know how they died. But the two of them had been with Qin Yu for so long, and they were extremely unwilling to let her go just like that. To be honest, they were still very infatuated with Qin Yu. After all, in terms of beauty, Qin Yu was considered first class. Even if she couldn't compare to Wang Xinyan, she wasn't too far off. In the entire Morning Star Academy, there really weren't many beauties that could compare to her. Let's wait and see. I reckon that Lin Yi won't stay in our academy for too long. When he leaves, the tea will cool down. At that time, Qin Yu still won't be able to escape from our palms. Qi Dong said in a low voice. That's all we can do for now. Qin Cheng nodded in agreement. Naturally, no one heard the conversation between the two of them hiding in the corner. In fact, even if Lin Yi heard it, he wouldn't care. With Qing Danzi's protection and Wang Xinyan and Huang Xiaodao's help, if Qin Yu still couldn't get rid of them, it could only mean that she was too weak. Even Lin Yi couldn't help her in every aspect. She could only rely on herself in the future. The next morning, the Morning Star Academy's treasured ship was bustling with activity. Li Ren was leading a group of Morning Star disciples to pack up. Prepare to set sail immediately. Although Lin Yi had told him to spread the rumor that he was going to the Morning Star Academy earlier to lure the enemy, he could not go back on his word. Since the rumor had been spread, he had to carry it out seriously. Furthermore, he did not manage to kill Chang Minggui last night, and being able to return to Morning Star Academy a few days earlier was a good thing for Lin Yi, as he did not have to stay here in fear. The departure of the treasured ship was not something that could be done with just a roar. All kinds of preparation work were very complicated, especially since the defensive array had just been repaired. He still needed some time to test it. Otherwise, if he were to recklessly head out to sea only to discover that the protective formation had failed, then he would be in big trouble. Lin Yi was chatting with Xinyan and the girls on the deck as they made their final preparations. It was then that Zhuang Yifan boarded the ship himself, cupping his hands. Master Lin, your earth solidifying pill is truly effective. I can't thank you enough. Oh. Lin Yi looked him up and down again, noticing that Zhuang Yifan's complexion was much better than before, and he no longer looked like he was suffering from a lack of blood. It seemed that after taking the earth solidifying pill last night, his injuries had completely healed. Not only that, but Zhuang Yifan's aura now seemed to be restless, a sign that he was not far from breaking through. If it were not for such a strong foundation, Zhuang Yifan would not have forcefully broken through to the peak of the late stage of the earth creation realm. Now that the earth solidifying pill had healed the old injuries in his body, and at the same time, it had greatly stabilized his strength. Who knew, he might be able to advance even further in a short period of time. Then I really have to congratulate President Zhuang. You have made great progress. Congratulations. Lin Yi cupped his hands with a smile. It's all Master Lin's credit. If it were not for you, how could I have gotten rid of such a huge threat? Master Lin is really my benefactor. Zhuang Yifan laughed. President Zhuang, you are too kind, Lin Yi said lightly. Not at all. Speaking of which, I am very ashamed. Master Lin helped me so much, but I can't give him anything in return. Just thinking about it makes me feel ashamed. Zhuang Yifan smiled bitterly. In the Mystic Sea region, asking any Mystic Level 1 alchemist to refine pills for him would require a huge price. This price could not be measured in spirit jades. Most of the time, one could only barter, or do something for the other party to repay. Zhuang Yifan received the earth solidifying pill from Lin Yi, but he did not give him the corresponding treasure, nor did he specifically do anything for Lin Yi. In fact, it was against the rules. You are too kind. Compared to refining pills, President Zhuang has helped me a lot more. I will remember it all, and I dare not forget it, Lin Yi said seriously. He was not just being polite. Not only did Zhuang Yifan help him suppress the crime of causing trouble in the Alliance's territory, he also stopped Chang Minggui at the banquet yesterday. On top of that, he also promised to matchmake the Qinxing and Qinjiao academies. With so many things added together, it was more than enough to make up for the price of one earth solidifying pill. These small things are not worth mentioning. How can they be compared to something as important as refining pills? Master Lin, please don't embarrass me. Zhuang Yifan pretended to be ashamed, but in reality, he was very happy. These were all small things he'd done in passing, but each and every one of them counted as a favor, and the weight of it all added up wasn't light at all. Lin Yi remembered him, and that in itself was already a benefit to him. These are small things in President Zhuang's eyes, but to me, it is a matter of life and death. Don't be too humble, President Zhuang. Lin Yi smiled. It's not that I'm being humble, but Master Lin is being too polite. Zhuang Yifan was now determined to build a good relationship with Lin Yi. His attitude was very humble and sincere. After all, this was not an ordinary mystic first-level alchemist, but an alchemist who had the chance to become a mystic second-level alchemist. He still had many things to rely on in the future. Alright, we don't have to be so polite anymore, it's too distant. I feel like we've known each other for a long time, why don't we be friends from the same generation? What do you think, Headmaster Zhuang? Lin Yi suggested. Good, good. Master Lin's words are exactly what I wanted. To have a friend like you, Master Lin, is my honor. Zhuang Yifan was overjoyed. President Zhuang, that's not right. I just said that we'll be friends, and you're being polite again. Lin Yi laughed and shook his head. He pretended to be angry. Friends should be straightforward. President Zhuang, if you continue like this, I won't be able to be friends with you. Chapter 4962. That's more like it. Since we're friends, we can't just call each other Master Lin anymore. From now on, President Zhuang, you can call me by my full name, or you can call me little brother, Lin Yi said with a smile. Alright, I'll call you Brother Lin then, but since that's the case, you don't have to call me Chairman Zhuang anymore, since we're the same senior, just call me Big Bro Zhuang. How's that? Zhuang Yifan took advantage of the situation. You've always been the big bro, Lin Yi laughed heartily. The two were trying to get closer to each other, and in just a few sentences, they were already calling each other brother. Zhuang Yifan was many times older than Lin Yi, but he always maintained the appearance of a young man, and the two really did look like brothers when they stood together. After getting closer to Lin Fan, Zhuang Yifan didn't try to hide anything anymore and said directly, Brother Lin, there's something I've wanted to ask you since last night, but I was afraid it would be rude. Since we're friends now, I'll be frank with you. How confident are you in breaking through to become a mystic second-level alchemist? That's hard to say, although I feel like I'm 70 to 80% confident. It's hard to say until I succeed. Don't you think so, Big Bro Zhuang? Lin Yi smiled faintly. That's true. Zhuang Yifan nodded. He couldn't help but feel overjoyed at Lin Yi's confidence. 80% confident, didn't that mean he had a high chance of success? If anyone else had boasted like this, Zhuang Yifan would have scoffed at it, but Lin Yi was different. The earth fortification pill from before had already proven his skills, not to mention that he was the disciple of the Dan god Zhang Liju. Breaking through to the second level of the mystic class was just a matter of time, it wasn't something to be surprised about. From what Big Bro Zhuang said, do you need a mystic second level pill? Lin Yi asked. That's right. I won't hide it from you. After taking your earth consolidating pill, I've recovered to my peak. I'm only one step away from breaking through to the peak of the late stage of the earth opening realm. After that, I'll be at the great completion of the earth opening realm, Zhuang Yifan admitted. That's a good thing. Once you reach earth creation great circle, Big Brother Zhuang will be able to attack the sea-splitting stage. Lin Yi couldn't help but feel eager when he said that. Reaching the sea-splitting stage meant that it was not far from the 5-poison flood dragon and the giant electric eel that he had seen before. It was a pity that Lin Yi himself was only at the early profound ascension stage. Not to mention the sea-splitting stage, he was still a long way from the mountain opening stage. Yes, that is indeed the case. However, it is very difficult to break through to the sea-splitting stage by relying on your own strength. You will also need the assistance of medicinal pills. Zhuang Yifan frowned slightly. What pill? As far as I know, after reaching the nascent soul stage, medicinal pills are no longer able to be used to break through to the next realm, right? Lin Yi asked curiously. And the medicinal pill I am talking about is called the Sea Giant Pill. It is not used to break through the barrier. In fact, it is just a kind of auxiliary medicinal pill, just like the Profound Thunder Pill. Zhuang Yifan saw that Lin Yi didn't quite understand, so he explained, when you break through to the Profound Ascension stage, you need to use the Profound Thunder Pill to resist the Thunder Tribulation, but it is not necessary to use the Profound Thunder Pill. If you are strong enough, you can rely on your own strength to endure it. The same goes for the sea giant pill. It is not necessary, but it can make the breakthrough smoother, that's all. Lin Yi was a little stunned. In other words, the sea giant pill itself could not be used to break through to the sea-splitting stage. The entire process of breaking through still depended on personal strength. The sea giant pill was just like the profound thunder pill, it could provide a better breakthrough environment. So, is it possible that when breaking through to the sea-splitting stage, there will also be heaven's wrath like the thunder tribulation? Lin Yi asked. That's not it. Once heaven's wrath is enough. How could it come every time? Otherwise, wouldn't the heavens be too busy? Zhuang Yifan smiled and explained, the sea giant pill is not used to resist heaven's wrath. It is a miraculous medicinal pill used to transform our physical body. It can transform our dantian into a wider dan si, and this dan si is the first step to breaking through to the sea-splitting stage. So that's how it is. Then this dan si can only be formed by taking the sea giant pill? Lin Yi asked again. During this time, the ghost had been in seclusion, so he had no one to ask this question to. He could only keep Zhuang Yifan. Not necessarily. In fact, even if we don't use the sea giant pill, we can still use our own strength to transform it bit by bit. However, this process is very difficult and long. If we are a little lacking in talent and willpower, it will be very difficult to succeed. Some people, even if they succeed in the end, will miss the opportunity to break through because it takes too long. They will never be able to break through again in their lifetime. But by taking the sea giant pill, we can skip this long stage. Zhuang Yifan patiently answered every question. Thank you, Big Brother Zhuang, for answering my question. Presumably, this sea giant pill should be a mystic second-rank pill, right? Lin Yi guessed. That's right. This kind of pill can't be bought in the entire yellow class C. We can only prepare the materials and ask someone to help us refine it. However, it is very difficult to find a mystic second-rank pill master. Even in the mystic class C, they are very rare existences, let alone in the yellow class C. So I can only place my hopes on you, Big Brother Lin. Zhuang Yifan smiled bitterly. Looking at the entire yellow class C, there was only one mystic first-rank pill master, Zhang Zili. Now that he was beaten half to death by Lin Yi, Zhuang Yifan couldn't find anyone to help him. As for going to the mystic class C to find someone, it wasn't impossible, but the problem was that he didn't know any mystic second-rank pill masters. Why would they help him refine pills for no reason? So, Lin Yi, who was about to break through to the mystic second-rank pill master, became his only hope. This was the original reason why he was so polite to Lin Yi. Otherwise, as a great master in the late stage of the earth-opening realm, even if he was polite, he wouldn't put himself in such a low position. At least, he wouldn't call Lin Yi a brother. Since Big Brother Zhuang values me so much, then I must not let Big Brother Zhuang down. When I successfully break through to the mystic second rank one day, Big Brother Zhuang's sea giant pill will be on me. Lin Yi immediately promised. He believed that with the conditions of the godly armament cauldron, refining the sea giant pill shouldn't be difficult. First the solid earth pill, then the sea giant pill. In this way, Zhuang Yifan would definitely value him more. At that time, Zhuang Yifan might already be a master in the sea-splitting stage. This was a real super help. How could Lin Yi let it go? Chapter 4963. Thank you, Brother Zhuang. Lin Yi was also overjoyed. If he had gotten Zhuang Yifan's promise last night, he wouldn't have needed to spend so much effort to plot against Chang Minggui, and he wouldn't have failed in the end. As long as Zhuang Yifan was willing to make a move, even 10 Chang Minggui wouldn't be enough to kill him. But thinking about it, it was only because Zhuang Yifan had taken the earth's solid pill that this could happen. This was human nature. Since the first time we met, I've felt regret for not having met earlier. Now this feeling is getting stronger and stronger. Come, let's have a drink to celebrate. At the same time, we can also send Brother Lin off, Zhuang Yifan suggested. Okay, I'll get someone to arrange it. Lin Yi immediately called Li Ren over. Since they hadn't left the port yet, he might as well strike while the iron was hot and get closer to Zhuang Yifan. After all, he would be a powerful ally in the future. But before the food and wine were served, there was a commotion outside the ship. The familiar howling wind from last night came again. Lin Yi and Zhuang Yifan were startled. Could it be that Chang Minggui had returned? Lin Brat, come out and accept your death. A ferocious voice echoed outside the ship. It was indeed Chang Minggui. When Lin Yi heard this voice, he wasn't surprised. Instead, he was happy. He was worried that this guy wouldn't leave him alone. He didn't expect him to deliver himself to his doorstep. Coincidentally, Zhuang Yifan had just threatened him, so this guy was simply there to test Zhuang Yifan. Let's go out and take a look. Zhuang Yifan's face darkened, and he immediately led the way out of the cabin. At this time, there was a giant ghost-eyed golden eagle hovering in the air with Chang Minggui standing on its back. Apart from him, there was another person, a middle-aged man with long hair and a black beard. Seeing this scene, Lin Yi, Lu Ziyu, and the others felt their hearts skip a beat. Chang Minggui himself was not someone to be trifled with, but the middle-aged man standing next to him had an aura that was far above his own. The feeling he gave off wasn't that of a mountain opening master at all, but an earth opening master on the same level as Zhuang Yifan. Chang Tianwen. Zhuang Yifan's eyelids twitched, and he called out the middle-aged man's name. He, it's been many years. How have you been, Zhuang Yifan? Chang Tianwen's face was filled with mockery and complacency. It seemed like the two of them had some sort of conflict before. At the very least, they were definitely not on the same path. Why are you here instead of staying in the Xian Grade C region? This is the territory of the Golden Steppe Academy Alliance. According to the rules, you have to notify us before you enter. Don't you think it's a bit rude to barge in like this? Zhuang Yifan said in a low voice. After so many years, President Zhuang is still as heartless as ever. For people at our level, what use are these rules? Lin Yi was Tianwen. Lin Yi. Zhuang Qin him, Zhuang, Qin Yi, Yifan, and he said. Lin, Chang Qin Yifan, who was Yi, who, Qin. With Qin, Lin Qin, Qin, and Lin Qin, and have the Lin. Hearing this, Lin Yi and the others realized that this person was Chang Minggui's brother. Chang Minggui was looking for his parents after suffering a loss. As expected, mountain opening late-stage experts were people too, and they thought the same as ordinary people. This is their own personal fight, and it was clearly stated in advance that the Academy's alliance does not need to interfere, nor can we. They can only blame themselves for being weak if they suffer a loss. Who else can they blame? Zhuang Yifan snorted mercilessly. Blame themselves? That's what you mean, right? But I don't believe it. A mere mysterious ascending stage can defeat a mountain opening early stage expert. This is unheard of in the Xian Grade C region. Could it be that there are more hidden dragons and crouching tigers in this small place? I suspect that you, Zhuang Yifan, are behind this. Chang Tianwen sneered. Is that so? Looks like you're not here to seek justice, but to stir up trouble. However, I'm curious about one thing. Back in the Mystic Sea, you were my defeated opponent. Where did you get the confidence to stir up trouble in my territory? Did you break through again? Zhuang Yifan stared coldly at Chang Tianwen. Chang Tianwen shook his head. Chang Tianwen's expression was one of disbelief. Hearing this, Chang Tianwen's face darkened. Losing to Zhuang Yifan in the Xian Grade C region was the greatest humiliation of his life. It was a scar that no one could open. Don't try to deceive yourself with stupid words like, I lost to you. If I hadn't underestimated my opponent, how could you, Zhuang Yifan, become the Academy Alliance leader? Chang Tianwen curled his lips in disdain. If that's the case, then I have to thank you for showing mercy back then? Zhuang Yifan sneered. Chang Tianwen's face darkened. Chang Tianwen's expression became more and more unsightly. He had always felt that he was stronger than Zhuang Yifan, be it in terms of background or strength. Back then, when people compared the two of them, he was dismissive and even said that Zhuang Yifan was no match for him. In the end, after they fought, he found out that he was no match for Zhuang Yifan. The mocking looks from the crowd at that time still made him feel extremely humiliated, and he took it to heart. After becoming the Academy Alliance leader, your strength didn't improve, but your mouth has become a lot sharper. Congratulations. Chang Tianwen sneered and said, "This Lin kid is mine today. Zhuang Yifan, if you're not the one behind this, you won't stop me, right? After all, according to what you just said, this is a private matter between him and us, isn't it? Whether it's a private matter or not, it's not up to you to decide. My brother Lin has to say it himself. As long as he doesn't agree, then he will be a part of the Academy Alliance. I can guarantee that you won't be able to touch him," Zhuang Yifan said lightly. "Brother Lin? You, Zhuang Yifan, are a late-stage Earth Creation Realm Master, and you're talking to a kid as your peer? Don't you feel ashamed?" Chang Tianwen laughed. Seeing that Zhuang Yifan was still unmoved, Chang Tianwen said coldly, "So you're protecting him?" "That's right." Zhuang Yifan nodded without hesitation. Even if he didn't have a grudge with Chang Tianwen, there was no way he would let Lin Yi fall into Chang Tianwen's hands. After all, Lin Yi was his biggest hope of breaking through to the sea-splitting realm. Then there's nothing more to say. I didn't want to take advantage of you, but you forced my hand. Chang Tianwen laughed. As soon as he finished speaking, a monstrous pressure suddenly pressed down from the sky. The huge Morning Star treasure ship sank, and a large part of it was pressed down by this incomparably powerful pressure. The originally calm sea became turbulent. Chapter 49-64. Alright, I'll wash away my shame today and let you see what I, Chang Tianwen, am capable of. Chang Tianwen laughed and chased after him. Both of them were experts in the late stage of the earth-opening realm. Once they got serious, their power would definitely be able to destroy heaven and earth. Not to mention the dock beneath their feet, even the entire Thunder Plain Island would be affected. That was a consequence that neither of them could afford to bear. Hence, the two of them could only fight on the vast sea. Only there could they display their strength without any worries. The two of them quickly disappeared from everyone's sight, leaving only Chang Minggui and Lin Yi's group. Town leader Chang, the two of them have already made their move. Shouldn't we fight again? We didn't fight to our heart's content last night, right? Lin Yi raised his head and looked at Chang Minggui. Humph, you'll die later. There's no need to be so impatient. Chang Minggui's expression was unmoved. He wanted nothing more than to kill Lin Yi, but not now. After all, news of what had happened here would spread out very quickly, and the mountain opening stage experts from the Alliance's guard team would arrive very soon. If Lu Ziyu, a middle mountain opening stage expert, was added to the mix, he would not even have the slightest chance of victory, and he might not even be able to escape. The arrogant and despotic town leader Chang also has times when you're afraid. Could it be that you're afraid that your clan brother won't be able to defeat President Zhuang, so you're afraid that he'll come back to settle the score? Lin Yi smiled lightly. Kid, don't be too happy yet. Since I specifically asked my clan brother to come here, then my clan brother naturally has the confidence to deal with Zhuang Yifan. Once Zhuang Yifan is defeated, your life or death will be in my hands. If I were you, I wouldn't waste my saliva trying to be brave. Instead, I'd quickly think about how to plead for mercy later. Chang Minggui smiled coldly. From what you've said, town leader Chang seems to have a lot of confidence in your clan brother. But from what the two of them said just now, how could he have been defeated by President Zhuang back then? Lin Yi said lightly. That was then, and this is now. My clan brother was defeated once, but that doesn't mean he will be defeated again. Chang Minggui looked down at Lin Yi and said, You people don't know yet, but Zhuang Yifan and my brother are both late-stage earth-opening experts. But this time, Zhuang Yifan will lose because he is injured. How did you know? Lin Yi looked at him with interest. This kind of thing was top secret, and Zhuang Yifan would not easily reveal it. Otherwise, his enemies would come knocking on his door, and Lin Yi would have a headache. Hee, this kind of thing only benefits me, so there's no harm in telling you. Zhuang Yifan asked my wife to concoct the Earth Consolidation Pill, which is a mystic level 1 pill specifically used for healing injuries. If he wasn't injured, why would he spend so much money to hire someone to concoct such an obscure pill? Zhuang Yifan said proudly. So that's how it is. No wonder Commander Chang is so confident. Lin Yi smiled, then looked at him and said, but I have bad news. President Zhuang told me today that his injuries have all healed, and he has returned to his peak condition. I'm afraid your plan is too late. Bullshit. His injuries can only be cured with the Earth Consolidation Pill, and my wife is the only mystic level 1 alchemist in the entire Yellow Class C. Where did he get the Earth Consolidation Pill? Kid, even if you want to bluff, you better use your brain first. Do you think everyone is as stupid as you? Chang Minggui looked at Lin Yi as if he was looking at an idiot. Oh. Does Commander Chang not know that I am a mystic level alchemist? Lin Yi pretended to be surprised. You? Chang Minggui was stunned. He really didn't know about this. His first reaction was that this kid was just bluffing. He immediately sneered, how can a little kid like you be a mystic grade first level alchemist? Kid, don't make me laugh. I really didn't think that Mayor Chang would be so uninformed. Even if you haven't heard of this, don't you think it's strange that someone of Guild Master Zhuang's level would treat a junior like me so differently? Lin Yi smiled, not minding it at all. Chang Minggui was stunned. To be honest, he also thought it was strange that Zhuang Yifan would be so protective of this unknown kid. Rumor had it that he was from the North Island. Before, he thought he was a relative of Zhuang Yifan, but now it seemed that he was a first-level mystic stage alchemist. I don't need anyone to prove that I'm telling the truth. We'll know once we wait here. Lin Yi smiled faintly as he ordered Li Ren to set up a table on the deck. He called Xinyan and the girls over to have breakfast, completely disregarding Chang Minggui, a late-phase mountain master, in his eyes. Chang Minggui was so angry that he almost fell off the ghost-eyed golden eagle's back. After a while, he snorted, then we'll see. The atmosphere was tense, but neither Lin Yi nor Chang Minggui had the intention to fight the other head-on. They could only engage in a meaningless war of words, because they knew that the decision wasn't up to them. Once Zhuang Yifan and Chang Tianwen finished their fight, the dust would settle on their side as well. Of course, there was another important reason why they weren't fighting right now, and that was that neither of them had enough confidence in taking down the other. Chang Minggui didn't dare take the risk of being surrounded by the Alliance's guards, while Lin Yi was purely at his wits' end. At least from last night's exchange, he and Lu Ziyu weren't a threat to Chang Minggui with their strength. The two sides fell into a stalemate. Lin Yi brought the girls to eat and chat, while Chang Minggui could only watch from the sky. Half an hour later, Zhuang Yifan and Chang Tianwen suddenly appeared in the sky above the crowd. There were no signs of injury on their bodies, but their auras were completely different. Zhuang Yifan was still as calm as ever, while Chang Tianwen was clearly in a state of confusion. It was obvious that he was at a disadvantage in the earlier exchange. Brother, how is it? Chang Minggui asked quickly. Let's go. Chang Tianwen's face was pale. He used his pure energy to wrap up the ghost-eyed golden eagle and Chang Minggui, disappearing into the thick clouds. Congratulations, Brother Zhuang. It looks like you've won. Lin Yi smiled at Zhuang Yifan. Chapter 4965. Thank you for helping me out, Brother Zhuang. Otherwise, I'm afraid I would have died today. Lin Yi cupped his hands in gratitude. He could still think of a way to trick Chang Minggui, but against someone like Chang Tianwen, even the most exquisite of schemes would be useless. Chang Tianwen could kill you with just a finger, so what was the use of schemes? Brother Lin, what are you talking about? With our relationship, do you think I'd just sit back and do nothing? Zhuang Yifan waved his hand and sighed. It's a pity that I can't help you take care of Chang Minggui today. Chang Tianwen is a late-stage earth creation expert, after all. Even if I could defeat him, I wouldn't dare to kill him. Otherwise, if he were to fight to the death, all of you would be in trouble. I can't take that risk. It's fine. I'm already very grateful that Brother Zhuang could help me survive today. Lin Yi smiled and shook his head. He was determined to leave the eastern continent as soon as possible. If Chang Minggui and Chang Tianwen made a comeback, none of the experts he knew would be able to stop them except for Zhuang Yifan. Even the Morning Star 3 would be useless. Only by leaving the eastern continent would they be able to survive. Yes, but you don't have to worry too much. I've already sent word to Chang Tianwen. If he dares to touch you, I'll personally go to the Mystic Sea and fight him for another 300 rounds. I believe he won't do anything in the short term. However, it's hard to say for Chang Minggui. He's arrogant and unruly, and he suffered a great loss at your hands. I don't think he'll give up just like that. You have to be careful in the future, Zhuang Yifan reminded. Thank you, Brother Zhuang. Lin Yi nodded. At this time, Li Ren came to report that everything was ready, and they could set sail at any time. Lin Yi immediately bid farewell to Zhuang Yifan. Zhuang Yifan had wanted to ask Lin Yi to stay for a few more days, but the situation was different now. Every day that Lin Yi stayed here meant that he would be in more danger when he returned in the future, so Zhuang Yifan did not urge him to stay. Apart from that, Lin Yi had another matter to attend to, which was to bid farewell to Lu Ziyu and Hui Yudi. Although Zhuang Yifan had stepped forward to vouch for them, and the reconciliation between the Morning Star and Morning Pride Academies was already set in stone, the two of them could not just follow Lin Yi to the Morning Star Academy. Moreover, Lu Ziyu was the person in charge of the Morning Pride Academy's team, and could only return after all the disciples of the Morning Pride Academy had gathered. However, according to Lin Yi's plan, after he returned to the Morning Star Academy to settle some matters, he would soon return to the Soaring Cloud Academy and the Morning Pride Academy before leaving the eastern continent. Therefore, it wouldn't be long before they met again, so he wouldn't be too reluctant to part with Hui Yudi. Everything was ready. Under the gazes of Zhuang Yifan and the others, the Morning Star treasure ship slowly set sail amidst the low and melodious bugle call. At the same time, on the back of the ghost-eyed golden condor, Chang Minggui finally mustered up the courage to ask carefully, "Clan brother, did you fight with Zhuang Yifan?" Chang Tianwen snorted, instantly angered at the mention of this matter. He pointed at Chang Minggui's nose and said angrily, "What did you say to me before? You said that Zhuang Yifan was injured, and that it was so serious that he had to use a solid earth pill to stabilize his cultivation level. But when I fought with him just now, I found that he was in peak condition, and even stronger than before. How do you explain that?" This time, he agreed to fight Zhuang Yifan on the condition that Zhuang Yifan was injured. Otherwise, he knew that he was no match for Zhuang Yifan, and he wouldn't have come all the way from the Mystic Sea region to get beaten up. This time, he was completely tricked by Chang Minggui. "Calm down, clan brother. I didn't think of this either. Zhuang Yifan tried every possible way to get my wife to help him refine the solid earth pill. Who would have thought that the Lin brat was also a mystic first-rank alchemist? Zhuang Yifan already obtained the solid earth pill from him, and his injuries suddenly healed." Chang Minggui said weakly with his head drooped. Luckily this is his territory, and Zhuang Yifan was afraid that I would destroy his alliance branch. Otherwise, he would have been in deep trouble this time. You didn't even get such important information. You can't do anything right, but you're more than good at spoiling things. Chang Tianwen glared at him with dissatisfaction. "Calm down, clan brother. This time, it was indeed my fault. I've caused you trouble." Chang Minggui quickly apologized. Seeing that Chang Tianwen's expression had eased a little, he carefully said, "In the end, this time, it was Lin Yi's fault. If he didn't refine the solid earth pill for Zhuang Yifan, how could Zhuang Yifan be your opponent? According to what you've said, that brat really is a talent. He's a mystic first-rank alchemist at such a young age, and he can even defeat a mountain opening early-stage expert at the Mystic Ascendant early stage. This brat is extraordinary. If we don't nip him in the bud, you'll be in big trouble in the future. Chang Tianwen nodded. Clan brother, you're right. That's why I don't think this matter can be dragged on. But it looks like that brat will return to Morning Star Academy soon. Should we chase after him and kill him? Chang Minggui suggested. That's your own business. What are you talking to me about? Chang Tianwen glanced at him, as if he had nothing to do with it. Ugh. I need you to help me with this. I can't handle it alone. Even though Morning Star Academy doesn't have a master like Zhuang Yifan, the 3 Morning Star leaders are not to be trifled with. I have no chance of winning against the 3 of them alone. I need you to suppress them. Otherwise, we can only watch that brat Lin Yi get away with it. Chang Minggui begged. If you can't even handle such a small matter, what use do you have? Chang Tianwen looked at him and said in the same tone, I can still help you deal with Zhuang Yifan. He's an earth-opening late-stage expert after all. You want me to lower myself to deal with a Mystic Ascendant early-stage brat? Did you get kicked in the head by a donkey? You may be shameless, but I'm not. But Chang Minggui wanted to argue. After all, he didn't have the confidence to face the 3 Morning Star leaders alone no matter how arrogant he was. No buts. This matter ends here. As for whether or not you can kill that Lin Yi, that's your own business. It has nothing to do with me. Do you understand what I mean? Chang Tianwen frowned. Chang Minggui choked for a moment, then finally nodded. Since Chang Tianwen was determined not to help him deal with Lin Yi, he could only rely on himself. No matter what, he had to find an opportunity to try. Otherwise, he would not be satisfied. 3 days later, Lin Yi and the others returned to Morning Star Academy without any incident. Ling Yuanqing led the higher-ups of the academy to put on the grandest display to welcome them. Among them, Lin Yi was undoubtedly the protagonist. Chapter 4966. If it was in the past, even if Ling Yuanqing wasn't angry at such a terrible result, he wouldn't be in the mood to personally welcome them. But this time was different. Although the result of the trial wasn't ideal, because of Lin Yi, the benefits that Morning Star Academy received were much greater than the path of the tyrant trial. Needless to say, just the fact that Morning Star Academy was able to sit at the main table at the celebration banquet was already a huge credit to Lin Yi. This meant that Morning Star Academy would receive the support of Zhuang Yifan, and becoming a super golden class academy was only a matter of time. This was something that Ling Yuanqing hadn't been able to do for decades. Other than that, the news of Lin Yi asking Zhuang Yifan to speak up for the 2 academies had spread as well. While it was inevitable that there would be all sorts of discussions within the academies, it was still a great achievement no matter what. Anyone with foresight could see that this was a win-win situation for both academies, and it was a rare occasion for both academies. Master Lin, you've worked hard this time. On behalf of everyone, I thank you for everything you've done for Morning Star Academy. You'll always be our benefactor. Ling Yuanqing said emotionally. Dean Ling, you're too kind. I've been troubling the academy for so long, it's only right that I do something for the academy. Lin Yi said humbly. Master Lin, I have a presumptuous request. I'd like you to be the honorary dean of Morning Star Academy. Would you be willing? Ling Yuanqing suddenly suggested. This. Lin Yi, Wang Xinyan, and Huang Xiaotao looked at each other. There were quite a few people here who were related to him. It wouldn't be a bad thing to have the title of an honorary dean. He hesitated for a moment before nodding. Since Dean Ling is so kind, then it would be impolite of me to refuse. All right, I've already prepared a celebration banquet. It's to celebrate Master Lin's achievements, and also to celebrate the new honorary dean. Master Lin, please. Ling Yuanqing said immediately. Dean Ling, please. Lin Yi nodded with a smile. He could clearly see that Ling Yuanqing's attitude had become more polite this time. He felt a little helpless, but he knew that this was unavoidable. After all, even someone like Zhuang Yifan had to treat him as an equal. How could Ling Yuanqing continue to be arrogant? Otherwise, even if he didn't object, Zhuang Yifan's expression would probably be ugly. What comforted Lin Yi, however, was that the divine nun of the East Sea's attitude towards him hadn't changed at all. After all, she was a peaceful monk, and also Wang Xinyan and Huang Xiaodao's teacher. If even the divine nun of the East Sea changed her attitude, Lin Yi would really be in trouble. At the celebration banquet, other than Wang Xinyan and Huang Xiaotao, the three powerhouses of the Morning Star Academy in Qingdanzi were at the same table with Lin Yi. Li Ren, as the leader of the libation, was also at the last seat. He didn't have the right, but he had done a great service, so it was a reward. After 3 rounds of drinking, Lin Yi suddenly asked Qingdanzi, who was sitting on his left, Qingdanzi, have you solved the problem you encountered with alchemy? It's solved, it's completely solved. The last few times I've refined pills, it hasn't happened again. Master, you really have a good eye. I've learned a lot. Qingdanzi said excitedly. He couldn't be blamed for being so excited. He had only followed Lin Yi's instructions and changed a small habit, and his success rate immediately increased by several times. It was equivalent to decades of hard work. Having an expert to guide you really made a difference. He was originally the chief alchemist of the academy, and now that the problem was solved, he could become one of the best among the 7th-rank alchemists. His next step was to look forward to becoming a mystic alchemist. Although there was a huge gap between a yellow-rank alchemist and a mystic alchemist, even if he reached the peak of the 7th rank, it didn't mean that he had the confidence to become a mystic alchemist. But this was the most basic prerequisite. If he couldn't even reach the peak of the 7th rank, then he couldn't even think about becoming a mystic alchemist. But now, Qingdanzi at least had the qualifications to fantasize about it. This in itself was a gratifying improvement. That's good. In the future, concentrate on practicing and simulating the alchemy fire of various elements. This is the most important basic skill to become a mystic alchemist. You can't be careless. This was Lin Yi's own experience from refining the solid earth pill a few days ago. Although he couldn't share the godly armament cauldron, he still had to teach him what he could. Yes, thank you Master for your teachings. This disciple will remember it. Qingdanzi was overjoyed. Although he had long believed that Lin Yi was a mystic alchemist, he never thought that he would be able to receive Lin Yi's wholehearted teachings so quickly. This really made him overjoyed. Before, Lin Yi's casual words had solved the problem that had troubled him for many years. Now, his words were full of gold. It had to be said that when he desperately wanted to be Lin Yi's disciple, it seemed unbelievably impulsive to others. But now it seemed that it was absolutely a wise and far-sighted move. Oh right, is there an alchemist called Jing Dongsheng in the academy? Lin Yi asked. Jing Dongsheng? Qingdanzi was a little surprised that Lin Yi would suddenly ask about this person. But he still answered truthfully, yes, there is such a person. He is our academy's number 2 alchemist. He is also a 7th-rank alchemist. It's just that he recently went out to visit his relatives, so he's not in the academy. So that's how it is. Lin Yi thought to himself. No wonder he had never seen this person before. Otherwise, if Jing Dongsheng was really in the academy, he would have already come to pay his respects. After all, even the chief alchemist, Qingdanzi, had become his disciple, let alone a 2nd-rank alchemist like him. Master, do you have any problems? Do you want me to find someone to call him back? Qingdanzi asked. He was the chief alchemist, and could be considered the boss of all the alchemists in the academy. Even Jing Dongsheng had to listen to his orders. Although they were both 7th-rank alchemists, their alchemy abilities differed greatly. Qing Danzi was at least 3 Jingdongshangs, otherwise he would not have been able to sit firmly in his position as the chief alchemist. That's not necessary. I was just casually asking. Lin Yi waved his hand nonchalantly. With his current position, he could make Jingdongsheng suffer with just one word, but Lin Yi wasn't that domineering. First, Qin Yu's matter was related to Jing Tianguang. As Jing Tianguang's father, Jing Dongxing was at most not strict enough to discipline his son. Chapter 4967. Oh, Qing Danzi nodded thoughtfully and didn't ask any further. Qing Danzi, I'll be leaving the East Continent soon, so there's something I need to tell you, Lin Yi said. Qing Danzi wasn't surprised at all. In his eyes, even a mystic wouldn't be able to accommodate a god like Lin Yi, let alone a mere golden academy. A master like Lin Yi would have to be like the Dan god Zhang Liju, a dragon that never showed its head or tail. That was the style of a master. Master, you're talking about the Hong commerce, right? No need to worry, I'll cooperate with shopkeeper Chai. I don't dare say much about other things, but in terms of high-grade elixirs, I can guarantee that no one in Morning Star City can beat him. Qing Danzi promised confidently. He indeed had this confidence, even without Lin Yi's guidance. He was still the chief elixir refiner, let alone now. Alright, I'll have to trouble you with this. Lin Yi smiled and continued, but that's not what I need to tell you, there's something else I need to tell you. I have a friend here called Qin Yu, and she was bullied before. She doesn't have a strong background, so I want you to take care of her. Yes, master. Qing Danzi agreed without hesitation, and after thinking for a while, he said, then do you want me to warn Jing Dongsheng? After all, they were both smart people, and although Lin Yi didn't say it explicitly, he could guess that the bullying of Qin Yu had something to do with Jing Dongsheng, or else Lin Yi wouldn't have asked this question. No need, you just need to take care of her, don't be distracted by these unnecessary things, work hard to become a mystic refiner. Lin Yi waved his hand, and added, Qin Yu is already at the early stages of profound ascension, and she won't be staying in Morning Star Academy for too long. Besides, Xian Yan and Xiao Tao will be helping her by her side. You just have to spread the news, and there shouldn't be any trouble. Yes, I understand. Qing Danzi nodded. After settling matters with Qing Danzi, Lin Yi bade farewell to the 3 Morning Star powerhouses. Ling Yuanqing and the others tried their best to persuade him to stay, but they also knew that Lin Yi had been targeted by Chang Minggui. Indeed, it was not convenient for him to stay for long, so they did not insist on him staying. They only asked Lin Yi to visit the Morning Star Academy when he was free. No matter what, he was still an honorary dean. In addition, Ling Yuanqing also gave Lin Yi a great benefit. That was the quota for the academy's disciples. According to what he said, Lin Yi, as the honorary dean, could directly recommend disciples to the Morning Star Academy. This was a huge power in the academy. For the sake of a spot to become a disciple of the East Continent Academy, the people outside would do anything to get it. It was not like Lin Yi had not seen the fiery scene of the Morning Star Academy's disciple selection. Ling Yuanqing giving him this power meant that he could easily send people to the Morning Star Academy in the future. Of course, the number of spots that would eventually be handed over to Lin Yi would definitely be very limited. Even if it was a disciple recommended by Lin Yi, he would still have to go through the final round of evaluation by the 3 Morning Star powerhouses. It was obviously impossible for ordinary Tom, Dick, or Harry to sneak in and waste cultivation resources. However, with the relationship between Lin Yi and the 3 Morning Star powerhouses, as long as the disciple's aptitude was not too bad, the 3 Morning Star powerhouses would definitely not make things difficult for the person he personally recommended. It was basically equivalent to him making the decision himself. With regards to this, Lin Yi did not hesitate to accept it with a smile. This was equivalent to paving a ready-made stepping stone for his subordinates. Even if it was just to force his seniors to think about it in the future, he had no reason to reject it. After bidding farewell to the 3 Morning Star powerhouses, Wang Xinyan and Huang Xiaotao accompanied Lin Yi to the Hong Merchant Association. Although there was nothing special that needed to be told, Honest Chai was still one of his people after all, and he naturally had to inform him before he left. Without a doubt, Honest Chai once again expressed his loyalty. With Lin Yi's stunning display at the Morning Star auction and his cooperation with Qing Danzi, he had now completely established a foothold in Morning Star City. In the Hong Merchant Association, he had also become a true lord, and his power and status were not to be underestimated. In the past, he did not have much say, but now he had enough qualifications to wave the flag for Hong Zhong. If he could groom a few more subordinates like him in the future. The day when Hong Zhong, the vice president, would forcefully enter the headquarters on Middle Island was not far away. After leaving the Hong Merchant Association, Wang Xinyan and Huang Xiaotao followed Lin Yi all the way to the city gates. Lin Yi repeatedly urged them to stop before the two girls reluctantly stopped in their tracks. "I'm leaving now, you two take good care of yourselves. If there's a chance, go to the Morning Pride Academy to find Huiyuti. The three of you must support each other when you go to the Mystic Sea region in the future, advance and retreat together," Lin Yi instructed. "Don't worry, we know this even without you telling us." "Oh right, when the time comes, are we going to bring your Princess Ningxu Fa along?" Wang Xinyan looked at Lin Yi with a smile that did not seem like a smile. Lin Yi rubbed his nose awkwardly. He felt a little guilty about this matter. After all, there were so many beauties who followed him without any complaints, and they never had a clear status. Now that he was engaged to Ningxu Fa, it was really too unfair to Wang Xinyan and the other girls. However, he had no other choice in that situation. He could only think of a way to make it up to them in the future. Feifei's strength is too low, she won't be able to go to the Mystic Sea region in the short term, but it's good for you guys to get to know each other first. Lin Yi blushed. "We know." Wang Xinyan and Huang Xiaotao saw his expression and couldn't help but smile at each other. "All right, you two can go back now. We'll meet again in the future." "I'll be back," Lin Yi promised. Although leaving the East Continent this time was part of the plan, it was somewhat rushed because of Chang Minggui. However, it was foreseeable that he would definitely return to the East Continent in the future. After all, the average strength of the other Heaven-tier islands was much lower than the East Continent. It was not easy for a mysterious Ascension Realm master like him to quickly improve. Only the East Continent, where there were many masters, was the best place to train. "Yes, you said it yourself. Don't let us wait for too long." Wang Xinyan and Huang Xiaotao wrinkled their noses at the same time, their eyes a little red. Parting was always a sad thing, and they didn't know when they'd be able to see each other again after parting this time. "I won't let you guys wait for too long, I promise." Lin Yi nodded and said softly. He hugged Wang Xinyan and Huang Xiaotao lightly and left under the gaze of the two girls. Chapter 4968. As he was leaving Morningstar City, Lin Yi suddenly saw two familiar figures on the city wall. They were Bao Zuoyang and Su Kesheng, who had disappeared on the way. At this time, the two of them sneakily hid on top of the city wall to watch. Su Kesheng was still fine, but Bao Zuoyang was covered in injuries and looked miserable. In order to send a message to Chang Minggui, he ended up in such a miserable state. Just thinking about it made one's heart ache. This time, they finally managed to incite such a powerful expert to deal with Lin Yi, but in the end, Lin Yi was still safe and sound. This result really made the two of them feel unlucky. Bao Zuoyang's injuries were all in vain. However, Lin Yi had already grown to such a terrifying level. Even if they were not satisfied, what could they do? Could they find someone more ruthless than Chang Minggui to deal with Lin Yi? Fortunately, Lin Yi had finally left. This was the only good news for the two of them. Otherwise, they would have to live in fear in Morningstar City. If Lin Yi found out that they were the ones behind this, the consequences would be unimaginable. The two of them were not worried for no reason. In fact, Lin Yi had already guessed that they were behind this. After all, after the two of them mysteriously disappeared from Thunder Plain Island, Chang Minggui came to kill him. Even if they didn't notice it at the time, they would be able to figure it out later. Lin Yi glanced at the two of them with a faint smile and then left Morningstar City. He had no intention of dealing with these two. It was not that he couldn't, but it was not necessary. In his eyes, these two were just clowns. Not only were they not a threat to him, but they were also no threat to Wang Xinyan and the others. Morningstar Academy was almost under Lin Yi's control. Not to mention Emir Baozhuliang, even his father would not be able to do anything about it. Lin Yi didn't say anything on the way, and a couple of days later, he appeared in Soaring Cloud's territory. He had originally thought that it would be interesting if he met the West Mountain Almighty Being again. This was not impossible. Heretic cultivators were usually very vengeful. Since the West Mountain Almighty Being did not dare to enter Morningstar City, he might have been waiting outside. However, from the results, it seemed that Lin Yi was thinking too much. A few months had passed, and the almighty West Mountain wouldn't have been waiting outside Morningstar City for so long. After entering Soaring Cloud Academy, Lin Yi quickly attracted the attention of the surrounding disciples. Although he wasn't a disciple of Soaring Cloud Academy, after experiencing the battle with Lang Rufin for half a month and the incident on the Path of the Giants, his reputation here was not any lower than Lang Rufin's. Lin Yi was speechless after being criticized like a panda in broad daylight. He had no choice but to escape into the newcomer's courtyard. He could only use butterfly micro-steps to escape. But before he could speak, He Yi's right. Fuck. Lin Yi was shocked. Without saying anything, he waved his hand and a 5 elements 8 trigrams murderous aura shot out. A lifelike 8 trigrams flood dragon roared and wrapped around the huge ice blade above his head. In an instant, it was crushed into pieces. Even the mountain-like blade momentum was completely offset. Rufin, don't you recognize me? Lin Yi looked at the person in the courtyard with a smile that wasn't a smile. Boss? Lang Rufin was shocked. After seeing Lin Yi's appearance, he couldn't help but blush. He had just noticed someone rushing into the newcomer's courtyard. He thought it was someone with bad intentions, so he chose to attack without hesitation. He didn't expect that person to be Lin Yi. Rufin, your strength has improved a lot. Your attack was so fast that even I was almost hit. Fortunately, my reaction was fast enough. Lin Yi smiled. Boss, you flatter me. My progress is really insignificant compared to yours. In just a few months, boss, you have grown to such a strong level. I heard that you can even defeat the giants of the mountain opening period. It's really a miracle. Lang Rufin's eyes lit up. When Lin Yi was in the East Continent, Lang Rufin basically suppressed him in all aspects. Even after fighting for half a month, Lin Yi's improvement in strength was far from obvious. In the end, he had to rely on a battle of attrition to force Lang Rufin to admit defeat. But now, Lin Yi easily blocked his attack. It was clear who was stronger and who was weaker. Oh. Even you know about this? Lin Yi was stunned. It's not strange. This time, the disciples who went to participate in the Road of Giants have returned. Boss, your matter has been spread widely. Besides, even if I don't go outside, I can still hear about it from here, Lang Rufin said matter-of-factly. There are people talking about this newcomer's courtyard? Who? Lin Yi was a little surprised. It's me. Hui Yuti's voice suddenly came from inside the room. Then, 2 delicate figures flew over like young pigeons and threw themselves into Lin Yi's arms. Lin Yi, you're back. Ning Xuefei hugged Lin Yi and said happily. Yes, I'm back. Lin Yi stretched out his hand and rubbed her head. Then, he turned to Lang Rufin and said, I won't stay here for long. Help me find Jiang Hahai. I have something to say to him. Yes. Lang Rufin nodded and turned to go out. Young hero Lin, the spiritual tea is ready. Please come in and have a rest. Yang Qinxue stood in the distance and greeted him. All right, thank you, Miss Yang. Lin Yi nodded and walked into the room with Hui Yuti and Ning Xuefei. The three of them chatted while drinking tea. Speaking of which, Yudi, why are you here? Lin Yi asked with a little surprise. He had said that he would go to Morning Pride Academy to find Hui Yudi. He didn't think that she would run over to Ning Xuefei's place. Because I knew that you would come to Soaring Cloud first, so I came. Hui Yudi raised her eyebrows and smiled. Hua Sis came all the way here just to spend a little more time with you. You're touched, aren't you? Ning Xuefei giggled as she hugged Lin Yi's arm. Fei, what are you talking about? Hui Yudi's pretty face immediately turned red when she was suddenly exposed. The two of them immediately started laughing and joking around. Lin Yi chuckled as he played with the two girls for a while, waiting for them to sit back down, panting heavily. He then asked, right, Yudi, the thing I asked you to look into earlier, any new developments? You mean that girl from the mortal world? Hui Yudi shrugged and shook her head helplessly. I got people to look into it again, but there's still no news. Ever since she suddenly disappeared, it's like she evaporated from the face of the earth. I can't find any clues. Chapter 49-69. You don't have to worry too much. Although she was tortured a lot before, there shouldn't be any sequelae. The problem now is that we can't find her. I've already told the relevant people in the academy that if they find her, they will inform me as soon as possible. I believe that will happen sooner or later, Hui Yudi comforted him. Well, that's the only thing we can do for now, Lin Yi nodded. By the way, Lin Yi, how long are you going to stay here this time? Ning Xuefei asked. This. Lin Yi couldn't bear to look at the two girls. Because of Chang Minggui, he was basically running for his life this time. Logically speaking, he couldn't stay here for long, and the sooner he left, the better. Not only would he be in danger if he stayed here, he might even drag Ning Xuefei and Hui Yudi down with him. However, the two girls had been waiting for him for so long, especially Ning Xuefei. Unlike Hui Yudi, who at least had a reunion on the path of giants, Ning Xuefei had waited until now to see him again. It was really cruel for them to have to leave so quickly. Can you leave tomorrow morning? Ning Xuefei took Lin Yi's arm and said coquettishly. Tomorrow morning? Lin Yi was stunned. He had thought that he would stay for at least 2 or 3 days to accompany Ning Xuefei. He didn't expect that this girl would be so understanding. He couldn't help but feel warm in his heart. Okay, I'll leave tomorrow morning. Then where are you going next? Hui Yudi asked. Originally, I was going to go to your Morning Pride Academy, but since you have already rushed over here, I won't make the trip. Can you help me apologize to Aunt Lu? Lin Yi smiled apologetically. She was also a considerate girl. This time, she came to Soaring Cloud Academy not because she wanted to spend more time with Ning Xuefei, but because she wanted to save time for him. Lin Yi knew that very well. Well, are you going back to the North Island next? Hui Yudi continued to ask. Before going back to the North Island, I plan to go to the Middle Island first. Lin Yi thought for a while and said. He hadn't seen Tian Chan and Sydney for a long time. Last time when he went back to the North Island, he said he would go to the Middle Island to see them, but he went to the West Island instead. This time, he could make up for it. Oh, it's a pity that it's not convenient this time. Otherwise, I'd really like to go to Zhongdao with you and meet Tian Chan and Sydney, whom you and Jingjing often talk about. Hui Yudi said with some pity. She had just successfully broken through to the profound ascension realm, so she had to properly stabilize her cultivation level. Lu Ziyu would not let her go out and run around. Yes, I think so too. What a pity. Ning Xuefei sighed as well. Hui Yudi was already half a graduate, while Ning Xuefei had just enrolled. It was even more impossible for her to run around. Don't worry, there will always be a chance in the future. Lin Yi had to smile and comfort the two women, and then said, by the way, Yudi, I've already told Xinyan and Xiao Tao to go with you to the Xuanjiesi area. When the Xuanjiesi area starts to recruit people, let me know. No matter whether I can come or not, at least let me know your whereabouts. Well, I got it. Huiyuti nodded repeatedly. Oh, you're all going to the Xuanjiesi area. What about me? Ning Xuefei said with a sad face. You? Lin Yi and Huiyuti looked at each other and smiled. Of course you'll stay here and cultivate. Even if you're the princess of the West Island, you can't go to the Xuanjiesi area before your strength reaches the profound ascension realm, right? It's so annoying. If I knew this would happen, would have cultivated well. I wouldn't have been left alone now. Ning Xuefei said sullenly. Lin Yi couldn't help but laugh. If you cultivated well, you wouldn't be Ning Xuefei. Among the people he knew, Ning Xuefei and Shangguan Laner had the best family background, and their talent wasn't bad. If they focused on cultivation, they would be able to achieve something great. Unfortunately, the two of them hated boring things like cultivation the most. Even the strength of the Foundation establishment realm was obtained by taking pills, let alone other things. From today on, I've decided to cultivate in seclusion. Ning Xuefei snorted angrily. Looking at Lin Yi and Huiyuti's eyes, she thought about it and quickly changed her words. Forget it, I'll start tomorrow. After you leave, I'll start working hard. I'll definitely surprise you in the future. Really? Then you're not going to study arrays and automatic casting mechanisms? Lin Yi looked at her with a smile. Ning Xuefei choked. To her, this was much more interesting than cultivation, so she quickly changed her words again. Then I'll use half of my time to cultivate. That should be fine, right? Alright, you said it yourself. If I find that you haven't made any progress the next time I come, I'll spank you. Lin Yi smiled. Ning Xuefei looked at Lin Yi's palm and blushed. She said shyly, do you want to take off your clothes and spank me? Pfft. Lin Yi had just taken a sip of tea when he spat it all over Huiyuti's face. Even Huiyuti choked. What was this girl thinking? Ning Xuefei could only wipe the tea off her face bitterly and said helplessly, I washed my face today. Thanks. Lin Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He finally stopped teasing this girl and was about to speak his mind. At this time, Lang Rufan suddenly shouted at the door. Boss, Jiang Hahai is here. Okay, let him in. Lin Yi nodded and turned to Huiyuti and Ning Xuefei. You two go to the courtyard first. I have something to tell him. It's his private matter. Okay. Huiyuti and Ning Xuefei obediently responded. After the two girls went out, Jiang Hahai immediately rushed in. He didn't care about etiquette and hurriedly cupped his hands at Lin Yi. Brother Lin, how is Qin Yu? The good news is that she went to the path of the magnate and is now an early-stage mysterious ascension master. Lin Yi said lightly. Really? Hearing this, Jiang Hahai was overjoyed, and muttered in disbelief, how did Qin Yu improve so quickly? She was even weaker than me at that time. It seems like she met a famous teacher in Morning Star Academy. Then I can rest assured. That's great, that's great. Although Qin Yu had pulled far ahead of him in terms of strength, Jiang Hahai did not feel any resentment because of this lowly pride. Instead, he felt happy for Qin Yu from the bottom of his heart. In fact, strength or not was only secondary. In his heart, it was enough as long as Qin Yu lived a good life. No, she didn't meet any famous teachers. On the contrary, she didn't have any backing at all. Instead, she was bullied by others. Lin Yi poured cold water on her. Huiyuti said as she pulled Ning Xuefei out, leaving the room for Lin Yi. Lin Yi smiled. He immediately took out the divine armament cauldron and began to refine pills. This time, he was not going to refine a profound first-level pill like the earth-solid pill. Instead, he was going to refine a kind of pill that he was already familiar with. The sky turned dark in the blink of an eye. In order not to disturb Lin Yi, Hui Yudi and Ning Xuefei stayed outside in the courtyard during the day. Even at night, they huddled together in the next room. After hesitating for a long time, Ning Xuefei finally came to Lin Yi's room under Hui Yudi's incitement. I'm here. Ning Xuefei tiptoed in. Her face was red, and she had a guilty look on her face. Puff. Lin Yi was dumbfounded when he saw her dress at the moment. He didn't know what this girl was thinking. At this time, she was only wearing a thin undershirt. It was half transparent and faintly discernible. She was like a tempting little demon. Why are you dressed like this? Lin Yi looked at her strangely. Chapter 4971. That? Which one? Lin Yi was stunned. That's it. We are engaged. Although it's a bit unreasonable to do this, after all, we don't know when we will meet again. It's necessary to keep a seed. Ning Xuefei's voice became softer and softer, and in the end, it was almost inaudible. Keep a seed? Fortunately, Lin Yi didn't drink any tea this time, or he'd have sprayed tea all over her face again. This girl's mind was really out of this world. He only asked her to come over at night. How could she think of something like this? Isn't it? Ning Xuefei was a little surprised. Ugh, Feifei, you misunderstood. I really didn't ask you to come this time for this. We are not going to be separated forever. It's just a temporary separation. Why do you want to keep a seed for no reason? Lin Yi was dumbfounded. Ning Xuefei's blushing cheeks became even redder. She quickly covered her chest with her hands and said hurriedly, "Then I will go change clothes." Ning Xuefei turned around and left. Lin Yi quickly stopped her. Come back. Since you are already here, why change clothes? Anyway, you have to take them off. Take them off? Ning Xuefei couldn't help but be surprised. She looked at Lin Yi in a daze and said, "Didn't you say that you don't want to keep a seed?" "I didn't say that, but the next thing needs you to take off your clothes. Hurry up. We don't have much time." Lin Yi reached out and gestured. Oh. Although Ning Xuefei was confused, she still did it obediently. Although she was shy, it was not the first time she acted like this in front of Lin Yi. Thinking back to the first time they met on the far North Island, it was the same situation. Ning Xuefei then asked charmingly, "Then, do you also want to take it off?" "I'm just helping you improve your strength, not for myself." "Why do I have to take off my clothes?" Lin Yi said with a smile. "Improve your strength? So that's why you called me here." Ning Xuefei finally reacted. She had already heard about this hundreds of times from Shangguan Laner. At that time, she was envious of the other party's ability to quickly improve her strength without cultivating. She had even talked to Lin Yi about it several times. However, Lin Yi felt that it was too much of a waste to do so. It was not a good thing in the long run, so he had never agreed to it. He didn't expect it to be brought up today. "That's right. I know that with your personality, it's impossible for you to concentrate on cultivation alone, so I can only choose this last resort," Lin Yi said helplessly. If Ning Xuefei wanted to improve even a little bit, he would definitely not help her improve her strength. After all, only the strength obtained through hard work and hard training was the most reliable. It was a pity that Ning Xuefei was the same as Shangguan Laner. Although she had patted her chest and guaranteed before, Lin Yi was sure that she would never be able to do it. This was purely her nature. Unless the two of them were forced into a desperate situation, they would never have this kind of awareness. Now that Wang Xinyan, Huang Xiaotao, and Hui Yudi were all at the early stage of profound ascension, they would definitely go to the profound sea together in the future. If Ning Xuefei's strength was not raised quickly, she would be the only one left behind. Although there was Leng Rufan and Yang Qinxue guarding here, and Lin Yi had nothing to worry about, he couldn't really let Leng Rufan and Yang Qinxue guard here forever, right? With the resources of the Golden Stage Academy, it was not enough to support the cultivation of a profound ascension expert. Who knew how long it would take for Ning Xuefei to cultivate to the profound ascension stage? If Leng Rufan and Yang Qinxue wasted so many years here for Ning Xuefei, no matter how powerful a genius was, they would still be wasted. Lin Yi felt very guilty. What's more, with Ning Xuefei's mischievous personality, even if she was extremely talented, it was still unknown whether she could reach the profound ascension stage. So after thinking about it, Lin Yi decided to raise her strength first. At that time, he could let her, Leng Rufan, and Yang Qinxue go to the profound sea with Hui Yudi and the others. Lin Yi had nothing to worry about. As for the problem of strength, it could be made up for bit by bit in the future. With Lin Yi's means, he would always be able to think of a way. Great! Ning Xuefei immediately cheered when she heard this. Completely forgetting her current situation, Lin Yi's face turned red. She didn't even notice it herself, and said excitedly, "Then what realm can you raise my strength to? Can I directly reach the profound ascension stage?" Hee, didn't you vow to cultivate hard during the day? Why did you throw it to the back of your mind so quickly? Aren't you afraid that I'll spank you? Lin Yi laughed. If you want to spank me, then spank me. Anyway, it's fine as long as you don't let me cultivate. I can do a lot of things with so much time saved. Ning Xuefei said in a silly voice. Lin Yi was speechless. If it wasn't for the fact that he didn't have much time, he might not have been able to control himself in this kind of situation. He could only say, "It's impossible to directly reach the profound ascension stage, but I can first raise you to the great perfection of the nascent soul stage, and then create an artificial thunder tribulation for you to help you fuse with the spirit root to reach the profound ascension stage. Here, these are the 2 7th grade great recovery pills that I just refined. Do you still have the Thunder Xian pill that I gave you last time?" Ning Xuefei took the 2 pills in a daze, both of which were of the best quality. She said strangely, "Yes, don't you only need the Thunder Xian pill to reach the profound ascension stage? Why do you still need the 7th grade great recovery pill?" The Thunder Xian pill can only be used to buffer the thunder tribulation. For people like you Dai and the others who cultivate normally, it is indeed enough to have 1 Thunder Xian pill. Even if they fail to reach the profound ascension stage, they can still ensure their lives. But you are different, your strength was raised by external forces, and your foundation is not enough. I'm afraid that there will be an accident. These 2 great recovery pills may come in handy. Lin Yi explained. In fact, if it was only the 7th grade great recovery pill, he didn't need to refine it on the spot. But he was afraid of accidents. Only by refining the best quality pills himself could he be at ease. After all, this was not a trivial matter, and he must ensure that nothing goes wrong. If there was no Chang Minggui, who was eyeing him covetously, Lin Yi could have raised Ning Xuefei's strength to the peak of nascent soul stage and let her consolidate for a few months before attempting to reach the profound ascension stage. Unfortunately, the situation was special, and he could only take a little risk. Of course, this was also because of Ning Xuefei's extraordinary aptitude. If she only had an average aptitude, Lin Yi would never do this, because after raising her strength to the peak of nascent soul stage, she would immediately attempt to reach the profound ascension stage. The difficulty of this was absolutely not a small matter, and only the true geniuses could succeed. Lin Yi believed that Ning Xuefei was such a genius, but this genius was more mischievous and never liked to cultivate. Chapter 4972. Next was the real challenge. Lin Yi gave Ning Xuefei only 2 hours to familiarize herself with the realm of Yuanying realm, and it couldn't be more than that. Since she couldn't make steady progress step by step, she could only take advantage of the strong inertia of the improvement of strength to break through to Xiansheng. If she waited too long in the middle, the rhythm of rapid upgrading would be cold, which would increase the difficulty of Ning Xuefei, so 2 hours was the limit. After 2 hours, Ning Xuefei suddenly opened her eyes, and there was an unprecedented brilliance in her eyes, which made Lin Yi's eyes brighten. This girl's aptitude was really against the natural order. In just 2 hours, she had already familiarized herself with the new realm of Yuanying realm. Even if it was not completely stable, in the eyes of ordinary people, it was already a great move against the natural order. Let's go, find a secluded place to break through to Xiansheng. Lin Yi was relieved. Ning Xuefei's state at the moment gave him a little more confidence, not to mention that she had the Thunder Xian pill and the 7th grade recover pill of the best quality. Even if Ning Xuefei failed this time, she would not be in danger, so he didn't need to worry too much. The two of them arrived at the outskirts and waited for Ning Xuefei to signal that they were ready. Without hesitation, Lin Yi unleashed the 1,000 lightning explosions. The power of this 1,000 lightning explosions was several times stronger than normal lightning tribulations. It was enough for Ning Xuefei to use it to merge with her spirit root. Of course, it didn't matter if it wasn't enough. With Lin Yi here, he could add another lightning strike at any time. As for the more powerful thunder burial, even a master in the early stage of mountain opening like Zhang Zili couldn't resist it. With Ning Xuefei's strength, even if she took the Thunder Xian pill, it would be useless, and she would be struck into ashes. Lin Yi didn't dare to take this risk. Looking at Ning Xuefei, who was immersed in the dark blue thunder pillar, seeing that she was still calm at the moment, Lin Yi was completely relieved. Although this girl usually played tricks and refused to cultivate, at this time, she still had the demeanor of a big family. She deserved to be the daughter of Ning Shengling, the master of West Island. Her talent and demeanor were deeply rooted in her bones. A mother knows her daughter best. If not, how could Ning Shengling insist on letting her be the successor of West Island? After all, it was not a good thing for a weak person to climb to such a high position. Ning Shengling was not the kind of person who would bet on the fate of West Island with her daughter. Since she insisted on doing this, it meant that Ning Xuefei did have the potential, the extraordinary potential to grow up to be the master of West Island. For a person who had the potential to grow into the master of the West Island, things like breaking through to the profound ascension realm were just a piece of cake for her. Just like Ning Xuefei's current performance, it was as if nothing had happened. This girl's talent is really scary, it's a pity. Lin Yi couldn't help but shake his head. With Ning Xuefei's talent and background, if she was willing to train hard, she would have already become a profound ascension stage master. There would be no need for him to do this. At dawn the next day, when Lin Yi brought a completely new Ning Xuefei to the newcomer's courtyard, Hui Yudi, Leng Rufeng, and Yang Qinxue were already waiting at the door with their heads raised in anticipation. In addition, Ning Xuefei's master, Qin Xingma, had also come. How is this possible? Feeling Ning Xuefei's powerful aura, Hui Yudi was not surprised at all, but Leng Rufeng and Yang Qinxue's eyes almost popped out. She was clearly still in the gold core stage yesterday. How did she become the early stage of the profound ascending stage overnight? Is this world crazy? Even Qin Xingma, who had always been gentle and intellectual, couldn't help but cover her mouth with her hand at this time, and looked at Ning Xuefei blankly, not knowing what to say. It's just a little trick, I hope everyone can help me keep it a secret. Lin Yi cupped his hands to everyone. This is a little trick? Leng Rufeng almost bit his tongue off, and said with a strange face, Boss, even if you are modest, there should be a limit. If this is all a little trick, then what is the point of us people cultivating? We might as well go back to our hometown to farm. He and Lin Yi didn't get to know each other without fighting. Before this, although he felt that Lin Yi was powerful, he never thought that he would be worse than Lin Yi, but Lin Yi's move completely subverted his worldview and outlook on life. When he thought of those stupid ideas before, he wanted to find a hole to hide in. There was only one thought in his mind now, his boss was really a god. Yes, your method is really incredible, it can be called heaven-defying. Qin Xingma also sighed, looked at Ning Xuefei and said with a bitter smile, It seems that Master has nothing to teach you in the future, how can that be? Fei Fei still has a lot of things to learn from Master, especially array, Master, you can't hide it. Ning Xuefei hugged Qin Xingma intimately. In the past, she used to allocate more than half of the time to cultivate, but now it was good. Before going to the Xuanjie Sea, She only needed to follow Chen Xingma to concentrate on learning array, which was exactly what she wanted. That's good, array has many uses, Fei Fei. It's not a bad thing for you to understand more, it will come in handy in the future. Chen Xingma nodded. Although she was not a formation master, she had some experience in this aspect. At least, it would not be a problem for her to guide Ning Xuefei. As for the future, if Ning Xuefei wanted to go further, with her identity as the Princess of West Island, she could totally find a better formation master to teach her. She could be considered as laying the foundation for Ning Xuefei. Alright, I've done what I need to do here. Let's part ways here, we'll meet again in the future. Lin Yi said. Then you have to take care of yourself. When the Xuanjia Academy starts recruiting, you must rush over. Ning Xuefei and Hui Yudi looked at each other and said. I will try my best, don't worry, I will definitely come to find you. Lin Yi nodded, gently hugged Hui Yudi and Ning Xuefei, cupped his hands towards the crowd, turned around and left. Along the way out of the gate of Soaring Cloud Academy, Lin Yi was not surprised, once again attracted the attention of the crowd, but the focus of the crowd was not only him. The surrounding people were clearly talking about the strange phenomenon last night. After all, the Thousand Thunder explosion was a huge movement, it was impossible to not be noticed at all. Lin Yi secretly shivered, this was not a good thing. If Chang Minggui chased him nearby, it would be very easy for him to find his trace. As expected, it was better to leave as soon as possible. Using the butterfly subtle steps to leave the boundary of Soaring Cloud City, Lin Yi went straight to the largest yellow rank port in the East Continent. After all, he did not have a flying spirit beast with him, it was not easy to go to the Middle Island, he could only take a boat. However, if he wanted to go from the East Continent to the Middle Island, ordinary boats obviously would not work, only warships and treasure ships could cross the vast sea, but these warships and treasure ships were the strategic resources of the various forces. Under normal circumstances, how could they let outsiders ride on them? Chapter 4973. Okuda Ba had said before that if he didn't go out to sea, he would usually be stationed at the Golden Port. Hero Lin, I didn't expect you to become a mysterious ascendant early stage master in just a few months. Congratulations. Okuda Ba was stunned when he saw Lin Yi. The last time he saw Lin Yi, he was only at the middle stage of nascent soul. This improvement was not just huge, it was like flying. He had never seen the world before. If he knew that Ning Xuefei went from Golden Core stage to Mysterious Ascendant stage overnight, his reaction would be the same as Leng Ruffin's, and his eyes would pop out. Hee, it's rare to come to the East Continent. If my strength didn't improve at all, how can I go back and meet people? Lin Yi couldn't help but smile. That's too exaggerated. I've been in the East Continent for so many years, but I've never heard of anyone improving as fast as you. Young hero Lin is indeed extraordinary. Okuda Ba sighed, then asked, Young hero Lin, are you preparing to go out to sea? Yes, I plan to go to Middle Island. I don't have any connections here, so after thinking about it, I can only ask the captain for help. Lin Yi nodded. What do you mean help? Hero Lin, did you forget that you are the honorary vice captain of this ship? We are all on the same side, how can I help you? Okuda Ba pretended to be dissatisfied. Hee, I said the wrong thing, Captain, please don't blame me. Lin Yi shook his head and laughed. Okuda Ba was also a wonderful person. Not only was he capable, but he also changed his attitude quickly. However, he was very enthusiastic about those who caught his eye. As long as they were used to his style, it was not difficult to get along with them. Hee, that's right. Okuda Ba smiled and patted Lin Yi's shoulder. I'll get someone to arrange it, but it'll take some time to prepare. After all, such a big warship can't go there empty-handed. There are so many brothers who have to eat. It's not realistic for them to go to Middle Island alone for you. I hope you can understand this. Of course. Lin Yi nodded his head. The resources consumed by an ancient warship for a trip to the sea was an astronomical figure. Even if Okuda Ba valued him, it was impossible for him to lose so much money. He would definitely take the opportunity to make some profits. That's good. Young hero Lin is indeed reasonable. I'll get someone to hang up Nakajima's signboard. I believe that there will be a merchant association looking for you soon. It won't take long. Okuda-ba smiled. Under normal circumstances, an ancient warship of his size would not do such business. Usually, he would deal with the big shots of the various heaven stage islands and then do business with the various forces. Just like last time when he carried the disciples of Morning Pride Academy and Soaring Cloud Academy, he would rarely run errands for the various chambers of commerce. But this time, the situation was special. Their main purpose was to send Lin Yi to Middle Island, and it was reasonable to get some extra money from the Chamber of Commerce as a subsidy. Ancient warships had always been very popular in the eyes of the big Chamber of Commerce because they were much faster and safer than ordinary treasure ships. So as long as he hung up the signboard, he believed that it wouldn't take long to attract enough business. Although Lin Yi wanted to leave the East Continent as soon as possible, this kind of waiting was unavoidable. He could only stay on the warship patiently. After hovering like this for a few days, the warship was filled with a large amount of resources from the various chambers of commerce. Finally, the warship sounded. Lin Yi stood on the deck and looked at the busy golden port. He couldn't help but sigh. Although this trip to the East Continent wasn't long, only a few months. But the things he experienced were full of twists and turns, and all of them left a deep impression on him. While he was sighing, suddenly, Lin Yi's eyelids twitched. There was a sudden gust of wind above the golden port. A man and a condor were faintly discernible in the clouds. Huh? Isn't that the ghost of death? What is he doing here? Okuda-ba's voice suddenly sounded. He had always been used to dealing with big shots. Chang Mingue was a famous person in the Golden Sea, so he naturally knew him. He's here to kill me. Lin Yi smiled faintly. Really? Young hero Lin, when did you offend this guy? Okuda-ba was shocked. I beat up his wife and son on the road to becoming a tycoon. Naturally, he hates me to the core. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have left the East Continent in such a hurry. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. There's such a thing? I remember that his wife, Zhang Zili, is an early-stage mountain opening expert. You can even beat her? Okuda-ba was shocked again. That's not a good thing. Otherwise, why would this guy chase me all the way here? Lin Yi shook his head with a bitter smile. He'd underestimated Chang Mingue's determination to kill him. He'd been injured quite badly last time, but he'd come back so quickly, chasing him all the way to the Golden Dock. It was truly unexpected. Don't worry. Since he's on my ship, it's useless even if he chased me all the way here. You just stand here and watch. Let's see if he dares to take a step closer. Okuda-ba chuckled. It seemed like he had no intention of giving Chang Mingue any face. This. Lin Yi was stunned. He really didn't expect Okuda-ba to be so loyal. Hee, this isn't just for you. Speaking of which, I have a little history with this guy. When I went to find his wife to refine pills, this guy actually wanted to poke his nose into my warship. He's really too much. This time, it's a good chance to break his spirit. Okuda-ba sneered. Then, thank you, Captain. I can't thank you enough. Lin Yi cupped his hands gratefully. If Okuda-ba didn't protect him today, the scene in Nanzhou Sea would have happened again. The only difference was that he was being chased by Shishan Elder, but this time, it was Chang Mingue. As the two were talking, Chang Mingue had also noticed Lin Yi's silhouette. After all, Lin Yi was standing on the deck in broad daylight. If he couldn't see him with his spiritual sense as a late-phase mountain master, then that meant he was a fake. He's here. Chang Mingue was overjoyed. After sending off his brother Chang Tianwen, he went back to help Zhang Zili and Chang Lading settle down. These two were now in a vegetative state, and unless he could find a doctor like Zhang Liju to save them, it would be hard for them to wake up. This naturally made Chang Mingui grit his teeth. In his rage, he didn't care about his injuries and chased Lin Yi all the way to Morning Star Academy. However, he didn't dare to go there directly, and could only ask around for help. In the end, he learned that Lin Yi had gone to Soaring Cloud Academy. Chapter 4974. Chang Mingui was about to attack without a word, but when he saw where Lin Yi was, especially Okuda Ba, who was standing beside Lin Yi, his expression changed. In terms of strength, he did not think much of Okuda Ba, but the problem was that Okuda Ba was not an ordinary mountain opening expert. He was the captain of the ship. If Lin Yi was standing on an ordinary ship, Chang Mingui would have attacked without hesitation, just like he did on Thunderous Plains Island. Ordinary ships would not be able to withstand his full attack unless their defensive formations were activated to the maximum. But this was an ancient warship. Not only was the defensive formation much more powerful than the treasured ship, but the most important thing was that this thing was equipped with an extremely powerful offensive formation. Not to mention Chang Mingui, a late-stage mountain opening expert, even his clan brother Chang Tianwen, a late-stage earth opening expert, wouldn't dare to challenge such a terrifying ultimate weapon by himself. Not to mention other things, just the starfall formation alone was enough to make people tremble with fear. Chang Mingui did not even dare to give chase as he watched the warship swagger away. What if Okuda Ba used the starfall formation to attack him after he chased him to the sea? At that time, not even his bones would be left. Okuda Ba was an extremely daring person, and they had a grudge against each other. It was not impossible for him to do such a thing. He had already caught up to Lin Yi, but he could only watch helplessly as Lin Yi escaped. Chang Mingui was about to go crazy with anger. But as angry as he was, Chang Mingui was helpless in this situation. He could not even vent his anger on the people around Lin Yi. After all, he was only in the late mountain opening stage, not the late earth opening stage like Chang Tianwen. If he dared to go to a morning star or morning prodigy to kill people and cause trouble, there would only be one outcome, death. Lin Yi could not help but laugh as he watched Chang Mingui stiffen above the golden port. This guy was not stupid to be able to maintain his rationality under such circumstances. It's a pity that this guy didn't take the bait. Okuda Ba slapped his thigh. You really want to kill him? Lin Yi was surprised. He thought that Oba Okuda was just joking. He didn't expect that Oba Okuda really had such intentions. Of course. Ever since I saw you controlling the starfall array, I've been studying it. I feel like I've improved a lot, so I decided to make fun of this guy. Who knew he would be so terrified? What a disappointment, Okuda Ba said with a displeased expression. Aren't you afraid of the repercussions of killing him? He has a clan brother called Chang Tianwen, who is a late-stage earth-opening realm expert. Lin Yi could only remind him. What's the big deal about the late stage of earth creation? Could it be that the sea dragon we encountered last time was inferior to him? Ba Okuda's face was full of disdain, and he said with a yearning expression, compared to the true super-existences in the endless sea, these people are not even worth a fart. I have an ancient battleship, and I can even travel the endless sea. Why would I be afraid of them? If he dares to come, I dare to kill him. Lin Yi was suddenly speechless. This guy was indeed a dangerous person. When they first met, he didn't hesitate to throw him, the prince consort of West Island, into the sea to feed the sea beasts. He didn't take the dignified West Island seriously at all. Now, his attitude was even more vivid. A person who could travel the sea was really not simple. Although the route from Dongzhou to Middle Island was much shorter than that from West Island, it was still a dangerous journey. However, since it was an ultimate weapon like the ancient battleship, the so-called danger was not worth mentioning. Such a huge ship could not only fight against natural disasters, but also deter the powerful sea beasts that were ready to make trouble in the sea. Unless the last situation occurred, the ancient battleship was almost invincible in the vast sea. How many sea dragons were there in the world, and how high was the probability of encountering one? Ba Okuda had traveled the sea for 300 years, and he had only seen the so-called god of the sea once. The probability was lower than winning the lottery in the secular world. As for being targeted by sea dragons twice in a row, this kind of situation did not exist at all. It was a peaceful journey. When the huge and spectacular ancient battleship docked in Middle Island, the docks suddenly caused a commotion. Unlike treasure ships, the ultimate weapon like the ancient battleship had always existed in Dongzhou. Unless the Dongzhou delegation came to visit, it was usually not seen in a place like Middle Island. "Captain, thank you so much for this time." Lin Yi stood on the deck and said goodbye to Ba Okuda. "Don't mention it. We are on the same side. Don't mention it." Ba Okuda looked at Lin Yi with some dissatisfaction, and then asked, "By the way, how long are you going to stay in Middle Island this time? Do you want me to wait for you? Anyway, I have nothing important to do recently, and I can go to North Island on the way." "There's no need for that. I'll be staying in Middle Island for a while, and it's not like the distant East Continent. It's very convenient to go from Middle Island to North Island." "Captain, you don't have to wait for me." Lin Yi smiled. There were indeed many ways for him to go back to North Island from Middle Island. Whether it was the will of heaven or the Hong Chamber of Commerce, he could arrange it. However, East Continent was different. It was very difficult to go from East Continent to any other Heaven Stage island. Without enough connections, ordinary people could only look at the ocean and sigh. Lin Yi was lucky to have met Ba Okuda this time. Otherwise, he would have to go through a lot of trouble. "I see. Since you said so, I won't try to please you. I'll get someone to hang a sign of East Continent, and I'll go back to East Continent in 2 days, lest the leaders of Middle Island feel uneasy and think that I have some ulterior motives towards Middle Island." Ba Okuda laughed. Lin Yi couldn't help but smile. Ba Okuda wasn't just joking. Normally, when a sensitive ultimate weapon like an ancient warship appeared, the higher-ups would definitely be notified in advance to avoid unnecessary tension and conflict. However, this was a last-minute idea, and he didn't bring his diplomatic group for an official meeting. Naturally, Ba Okuda didn't inform them in advance. Under such circumstances, it was good enough that they could reach the shore safely. If they stayed longer, the higher-ups of Middle Island might not be able to eat and sleep well. Although an ancient battleship could not destroy the entire Middle Island, if it were to launch a sudden attack, the vitality of Middle Island would definitely be greatly damaged. The most troublesome thing was that there was no one in Middle Island who could compete with such an ultimate weapon, unless those old monsters who lived in seclusion in the Island Master Pavilion were alarmed. "Captain, let's part ways here. See you again." Lin Yi said goodbye with cupped hands. Chapter 4975. "Okay, I won't stand on ceremony with you, Captain." Lin Yi nodded with a smile and was then escorted off the battleship by Okuda. Looking at the scene at Middle Island's pier, Lin Yi could not help but sigh. The last time he came to Middle Island, his knowledge was not as vast as it was now. At that time, he naively thought that Middle Island was the supreme land and the center of the 5 heavenly islands. However, now it seemed that although Middle Island was the center, it was only the center in terms of geographical location. Its strength and status might not be much higher than that of North Island and West Island. Compared to the unpredictable East Continent and the South Continent with the spirit beasts, Middle Island was still far behind. To put it bluntly, the Middle Island was only treated as the headquarters by many chambers of commerce because of its excellent geographical location. It wasn't because of how powerful the people there were. Only the Eastern Continent, which was filled with experts, could truly represent the peak of the Heaven Stage Island. But then again, although Middle Island's strength was far inferior to the East Continent, it was still the headquarters of the major chambers of commerce. It was also the transportation hub that connected the 4 heavenly islands of the North, South, East, and West. In terms of prosperity, it was not inferior to the main cities of the academies in the East Continent. Walking through the commercial district of Middle Island, Lin Yi unknowingly arrived at the market street. He was worried about Tian Shan and Sydney, so Tiandan Pavilion was naturally his first stop. As the owner of the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion, Lin Yi felt a little guilty at the moment. It had been more than 2 years since he left last time, and he hadn't come back even once in such a long time. He was really thorough in leaving the responsibility to others. If it weren't for his own people like Tian Chan and Shueli, the entire Heavenly Elixir Pavilion might have changed hands a long time ago. As a hands-off manager, Lin Yi was relaxed, but Tian Chan and Sydney suffered. Although they had the support of people like the Will of Heaven, they were women after all. It was not easy for them to establish a foothold in Middle Island. Moreover, Lin Yi disappeared from time to time, causing the supply of elixirs to be unable to keep up. The two of them were troubled because of this. It could be said that Tian Chan and Sydney had made great contributions to Tiandan Pavilion. In contrast, Lin Yi did not do much for them. If he did not feel guilty, he could only be said to be too heartless and irresponsible. Fortunately, they finally returned to Middle Island this time. Lin Yi could more or less make up for it. In fact, for the two women, as long as he appeared, it was a big surprise. However, before Lin Yi walked to the front, he saw from a distance that the entrance of Tiandan Pavilion was bustling with a large circle of people. Lin Yi was suddenly stunned. After such a long time, Tiandan Pavilion was still so crowded. When Tiandan Pavilion first opened, because there were all kinds of elixirs of the best quality, the business was extremely hot, just like the scene in front of him. However, even at that time, it did not last long. After a few days, the scene was not so hot anymore. Could it be that Tian Chan and Ning Xuefei were good at managing, and after more than 2 years of hard work, they had completely established the reputation of Tiandan Pavilion? But it should not be so popular, right? Lin Yi could not help but feel a little strange. Although Tian Chan could also refine elixirs, she could basically only provide elixirs of high quality. As for the really popular elixirs of the best quality, he still needed to provide them. However, even if he regularly delivered elixirs to Heavenly Dan Pavilion, due to the fact that he had to travel a lot of times, he could not guarantee the quality of the elixirs. Under normal circumstances, he would only sell a limited amount of elixirs. It was already good enough for Tian Chan and Shueli to retain their popularity, but it was impossible for them to sell so well. After all, if so many people could buy the elixirs that Lin Yi delivered regularly would not last for more than a few days. It was not desirable to have a flash in the pan, and a steady stream was the king's way. Once the supply of the best elixirs was cut off, the loss could not be made up by the hot sales in 1 or 2 days. At that time, the reputation of the entire Tiandan Pavilion would be damaged. There must be something going on here. Lin Yi suppressed the curiosity in his heart and immediately went over quietly. Sure enough, this scene was not because the business of Tiandan Pavilion was booming, but because there was a villain playing tricks. Everyone, don't miss it. Our medicine sect has invited a senior alchemist from the East Continent, and he can refine 6th-grade elixirs on the spot. Everyone, if you are interested, hurry up and take a look. If you are late, you won't be able to line up. The owner of the voice was a familiar face. It was the deputy manager of the medicine sect, Jiao Huanshan. Seeing this, Lin Yi frowned slightly. When the Tiandan Pavilion had just opened for business, this Jiao Huanshan had come to make trouble, but at that time, the Will of Heaven was present and dealt with him casually. He did not expect this clown to jump out again today. Was he not afraid of attracting the Will of Heaven again? Although he felt strange, Lin Yi did not show up directly. With his current vision, he naturally looked down on such a small character, but this matter was related to the reputation of Tiandan Pavilion. Before the matter was clarified, he was not ready to act rashly. Medicine sect? Isn't this Tiandan Pavilion? A new onlooker in the crowd asked in a low voice. My dear friend, where are you from? Medicine sect and Tiandan Pavilion are mortal enemies. Don't you know this? A busybody next to him curled his lips and said. That's right. Because of the big gimmick of the highest grade elixir, Tiandan Pavilion has stolen a lot of business from the medicine sect in the past 2 years. Now, this deputy manager of the medicine sect is obviously going to steal back the source of customers. TSK, even a 6th grade elixir can be refined on the spot. That senior alchemist from the East Continent is amazing. Maybe he is the legendary 7th grade alchemist. After all, an ordinary 6th grade alchemist would not dare to do this. Another onlooker explained in admiration. This time, Tiandan Pavilion is really going to be defeated. Although it has all kinds of highest grade elixir, after all, the grade is not high. At most, it is only 5th grade. Even if the 6th grade elixir is not of the highest quality, it is still much more popular than Tiandan Pavilion. What's more, after a certain level, everyone has to consider the 6th grade elixir. Those 4th grade and 5th grade elixir are useless no matter how good the quality is. The onlookers sighed. In the end, it is still because of the lack of foundation. Tiandan Pavilion has only been established for 2 years, while Medicine's sect has been around for hundreds of years. They can easily invite a senior alchemist from the East Continent to hold the fort. What does Tiandan Pavilion have? Someone said disdainfully. Chapter 4976. More and more people were attracted over, but Tian Chan and Sydney could only stand in front of their own doors, helpless against the scene in front of them. Besides, Wei Shenjin had also rushed over after hearing the news, but he also looked helpless. Although Diao Huanshan was very annoying, he didn't do anything to harm Tiandan Pavilion. He was only blocking the door and promoting medicine sect. Under these circumstances, they really couldn't do anything to him. Tian Chan and the other two could only stare. Even if they were angry, they could only swallow this grievance. Besides, in terms of strength and background, Tiandan Pavilion really wasn't a match for medicine sect. There was really nothing they could do. Tian Chan and Sydney looked at each other and shook their heads helplessly. Now that their biggest support in Middle Island had left, they couldn't do anything even if they complained. They could only let Diao Huanshan, this clown, do whatever he wanted. Diao Huanshan, don't go overboard. Don't you think you're going overboard? Wei Shenjin couldn't take it anymore. He stood up and interrupted the chattering Diao Huanshan. Overboard? How is it overboard? I'm not stealing or robbing. I'm just standing here to say a few words of justice. How is that overboard? Diao Huanshan sneered and glanced at Wei Shenjin. He sneered and said, I remember that Tiandan Pavilion has only been open for 2 years. Since when did it become so arrogant that people can't even say a few words at the door? You say this is a word of justice? Diao Huanshan, what exactly is your skin made of? You're competing so openly and maliciously, using such a despicable method to steal the customers of the Heavenly Dan Pavilion, and yet you can still say that you're doing this for justice without even blushing? Wei Shenjin coldly snorted as he suppressed his anger. I'm speaking the truth. If you're talking about maliciously competing, why don't you tell me? Which of my words just now wasn't the truth? Which of my words was deliberately slandering Tiandan Pavilion? If there is, you can pick it out for me, and I will apologize on the spot. Diao Huanshan said fearlessly. You. Wei Shenjin suddenly choked. After all, he wasn't like Diao Huanshan, who had been in the business world for a long time. He wasn't as eloquent and nimble as the others. Moreover, Diao Huanshan's words really didn't leave any evidence that could be used against him. He was purely promoting his medicine sect, so it was hard for people to find fault with him. In fact, Wei Shenjin also knew that it was useless to argue with a clown like him. The best way was to overwhelm him with strength. Just like the last time when Tiandan Pavilion opened, the will of heaven could send this guy flying with a casual slap. How would he dare to say anything? Unfortunately, Wei Shenjin wasn't the will of heaven. At the end of the day, he was just a disciple of the Snow Sword sect. He didn't know who was stronger than Diao Huanshan. If they were to really fight, it was hard to say who would be sent flying. Seeing that Wei Shenjin was choked and couldn't say a word, Diao Huanshan glanced at Tianchan and Sydney proudly. He said disdainfully, "Brat, you're just a few small characters, and you want to fight with me? Don't you think you're too inexperienced? Humph, you can't fight with words, and you can't fight with force either. If you're so capable, call the will of heaven here and let him deal with me." As soon as he said that, the crowd was in an uproar. The will of heaven was a legendary figure that everyone in Middle Island knew. It was rare to see someone who dared to call out the will of heaven's name in public. This medicine sect's vice shopkeeper Diao was really a big shot. Wei Shenjin was so angry that he almost rolled up his sleeves and made a move. In the end, he was stopped by Tianchan and Sydney with a look. At this time, there were no masters who could suppress them. It was hard for the three of them to gain any advantage. Instead, they might suffer a big loss. If Diao Huanshan took this opportunity to tear down the Tiandan Pavilion, then their 2 years of hard work would be wasted. Seeing that Wei Shenjin didn't get angry, Diao Huanshan couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. Tianchan and the others guessed correctly. He did have the intention to make a fuss. After all, the existence of the Tiandan Pavilion was bound to steal a lot of business from the medicine sect. If he could take this opportunity to destroy the Tiandan Pavilion, then it would really be the end of it. Even if he had to pay a price for it, it would be worth it. Humph, I'm not afraid to tell you that I'm a master in the late stage of the nascent soul realm. If the will of heaven was here, then I wouldn't care. But he isn't here, so I'd like to see who can compete with me. As Diao Huanshan spoke, he released his aura, which instantly shocked everyone around him. The crowd couldn't be blamed for having such a reaction. If it was a place like the East Continent where experts gathered, a nascent soul late-stage cultivator was nothing at all. After all, any random passerby could be a profound ascension stage cultivator, or even a mountain opening stage cultivator. Who would be afraid of a nascent soul late-stage cultivator? But this was the Middle Island, and nascent soul stage cultivators were already rare experts here. None of them were easy to deal with. As for the more powerful profound ascension stage cultivators, they basically didn't go out much. They might not even see one in 10 days or half a month. Just like the situation now, Diao Huanshan, a nascent soul late-stage cultivator, was already an invincible existence. Tianchan and Sydney couldn't help but frown, and Wei Shenjin could only choose to retreat. There was no other way. He wasn't Diao Huanshan's opponent at all. Even if he were to rush forward in a hot-blooded manner, it would only ruin things. Seeing this, Diao Huanshan couldn't help but laugh out loud, while Lin Yi, who was in the crowd, was a little puzzled. The will of heaven had always been a powerful presence on the Heaven Stage Island, so why didn't it seem to be working? This Diao Huanshan actually wasn't afraid that the will of heaven would settle the score with him. What was going on? But Lin Yi didn't think too much about this. Even if Diao Huanshan was a nascent soul late-stage cultivator, he wasn't worthy of Lin Yi's attention at all. Now, even the president of the Golden Stage Academy Alliance, Zhuang Yifan, who was in the Earth Creation late stage, had to address him as a brother, and even had to be respectful when speaking to him. Academy presidents like Ling Yuanqing were even more respectful to him. With Lin Yi's current level, there really weren't many people on the Middle Island that could make him pay attention. Lin Yi didn't choose to make a move just now because he wanted to understand the specific situation first. Now that he had heard the gist of it, there was naturally no need to continue listening to the nonsense. You can get lost now. Lin Yi walked out from the crowd and didn't even look at Diao Huanshan. He smiled at Tianchan and the others, who were pushed so hard that they couldn't speak. I'm back. Ah. Tianchan and Sydney were instantly overjoyed. The two of them had been waiting for Lin Yi for 2 whole years, but in the end, they couldn't get any definite news. They didn't expect that today, at this most embarrassing time, Lin Yi would actually appear. Wei Shenjin was also overjoyed. He was so anxious just now that he didn't know what to do. Lin Yi had entrusted him to look after the Tiandan Pavilion. If this clown, Diao Huanshan, ruined the signboard, How would he have the face to see Lin Yi in the future? Chapter 4977. Who do you think you are? Jiao Huanshan didn't recognize Lin Yi at first. He only reacted after noticing the surprised expressions of Tian Chan and the others. He laughed and said, I was wondering who it was. So it's the manager of the Tiandan Pavilion that disappeared for 2 years. I don't have time to talk nonsense with you. If you don't know what's good for you, get lost. Otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless. Lin Yi glanced at him indifferently. Oh, no wonder you're the manager of the Tiandan Pavilion. You're so young, but you talk big. Jiao Huanshan laughed mockingly and said disdainfully, but you can't scare people with your big talk. Do you think you're the will of heaven? You think you can scare me, a late-stage, nascent soul expert, with just a few words? I'll return the same words to you. If you know what's good for you, go back to the Tiandan Pavilion. Otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless. Now that the will of heaven isn't here, it's easy for me to take care of you little brats. Is that so? How did Big Brother the will of heaven take care of you last time? Lin Yi suddenly changed the topic and asked. What? Jiao Huanshan was stunned. He thought that Lin Yi wanted to use this to embarrass him. However, before he could fly into a rage, Lin Yi suddenly raised his hand and slapped him. Jiao Huanshan wanted to fight back subconsciously, but he suddenly realized that he couldn't move at all. There was no other reason. The aura that the other party emitted was too terrifying. It was even stronger than the will of heaven. A profound ascension expert. Jiao Huanshan was instantly dumbfounded. The surrounding crowd was also dumbfounded. They all looked at Lin Yi in disbelief. This person was actually a legendary profound ascension expert. Shouldn't such a terrifying person live in seclusion? Why would he appear on this street? According to Jiao Huanshan's words, this person was the manager of the Tiandan Pavilion? Lin Yi didn't use any martial techniques, just a simple wave of true qi, and Jiao Huanshan was sent flying in front of everyone. After all, Jiao Huanshan was only in the late stage of nascent soul. It would be strange if someone like him could still fight back against Lin Yi. Jiao Huanshan was slapped to the point where he was nowhere to be found. Only the sound of people inhaling sharply could be heard. Some of the people who had been persuaded by Jiao Huanshan immediately changed their minds. It seemed that although this heavenly pill pavilion had only been established for a short period of time, the backing behind it was indeed extraordinary. They might not lose to the medicine sect. Everyone, the Tiandan Pavilion, have always had a good reputation for doing business. I, Lin Yi, will leave a sentence here. Whether it's the 5th, 6th, or 7th grade, the Tiandan Pavilion, will definitely have the elixirs that the medicine sect has. Even if the medicine sect doesn't have them, the Tiandan Pavilion, will have them. Everyone, please wait and see. Lin Yi cupped his hands and said to the crowd in a clear voice. As soon as he said that, the crowd immediately went into an uproar. Everyone's appetite was immediately whetted. Jiao Huanshan had spent so much effort to steal business. In the end, after Lin Yi's trick, not only did he not attract the crowd to the medicine sect, but he also looked forward to the Tiandan Pavilion even more. How was he here to ruin their reputation? He was clearly here to give them warmth. After saying that, Lin Yi walked into the Tiandan Pavilion, surrounded by Tian Chan and Sydney. 2 years had passed, but the layout inside had not changed at all. It was still the same as before, which made people sigh with emotion. The three of them went upstairs. As for the business downstairs, it was temporarily taken care of by Wei Shenjin. In any case, when the business was busy in the past, Wei Shenjin had helped a lot. After 2 years, he was already familiar with the business. You've finally come to see us. As soon as they entered the room, before the door was even closed, Tian Chan and Sydney rushed into Lin Yi's arms. It's been hard on you these 2 years. It's my fault. I should have come to see you earlier, Lin Yi said guiltily. The two girls sniffled at the same time. In the past 2 years, they had indeed felt a little sad. It was not that they felt that it was too hard to support the Tiandan Pavilion by themselves, but it was purely because they could not see Lin Yi. Although they also knew that Lin Yi could not be by their side all the time, it was not too much to see him twice a year. In the end, they had not seen each other for more than 2 years, and they were almost looking for a husband. It's good that you know. You're not allowed to leave the two of us like this in the future, or else. Tian Chan suddenly paused when she said that. Or else what? Lin Yi smiled. Or else I'll kick you. Tian Chan suddenly blushed and gave Lin Yi a light kick. Me too. On the other side, Sydney followed suit. She grabbed Lin Yi, but it turned into a light hug. Lin Yi did not know whether to laugh or cry. Of course, the two girls did not really want to kick him. They were just being intimate. We haven't seen each other for so long. When did the two of you learn to kick people? It's too cruel. Looks like I can only come and pay my respects to you more often in the future, Lin Yi said, pretending to be honest. You said it yourself. You can't go back on your words. Tian Chan and Sydney looked at each other and smiled. Oh yeah, I wonder how brother Tian is doing recently. From what Diao Huanshan said just now, could he not be in Middle Island? Lin Yi asked. Yes, he is indeed not in Middle Island. If brother Tian was here, would Diao Huanshan dare to be so presumptuous? Sydney said indignantly. With the will of heaven's illustrious reputation in Middle Island, even if Diao Huanshan had 10 guts, he would not dare to come and cause trouble. If he really dared to come in front of the will of heaven, he would definitely be slapped to death. Oh. Could it be that brother Tian has something important to do and has gone to other heaven stage islands? Lin Yi asked curiously. Just like the last time Chu Wentian went to West Island, the will of heaven was also the deputy island master of Middle Island. It was normal for him to represent Middle Island to go to other heaven stage islands. That's not it. Brother Tian's strength has reached the bottleneck of nascent soul perfected, so he left for East Continent some time ago. He plans to break through to profound ascension there. Tian Chan explained. I see. Lin Yi nodded. If it was in the past, he would definitely wonder why he had to go to East Continent to break through to profound ascension, but with the experience of being a giant, he now completely understood. Although it was not impossible to break through to profound ascension in other places, under normal circumstances, it was difficult to rely on one's own strength to trigger the thunder punishment. It must be met with the right weather. To reach the intensity of the thunder punishment, a normal thunderstorm was absolutely not enough. It was only possible when the heavenly thunder was strong to a certain extent. To put it bluntly, it all depended on the will of the heavens. Chapter 4978. Lin Yi couldn't help but shake his head secretly. It was a pity that they had missed each other. Otherwise, it was very likely that they would have reunited with the will of heaven on the road of giants. That would have been a pleasant surprise. There's no one good in the medicine sect. Not only is there a sinister villain like Diao Huanshan, even the shopkeeper, Tong Yangsua, is a sanctimonious hypocrite. These 2 years, in order to put pressure on our Tiandan Pavilion, they have used all kinds of despicable means. They didn't dare to go too far because Big Brother Tian was here, but now that Big Brother Tian is gone, they immediately climbed all over us. This is intolerable. Sydney said angrily. These people are indeed shameless. Our strength is no match for Diao Huanshan. Fortunately, Lin Yi, you arrived in time. Otherwise, I don't know how this matter would have ended. Tian Chan couldn't help but frown. Hee, you guys are worrying too much. From the situation just now, this Diao Huanshan is actually a sensible person. Although he came to cause trouble, he didn't dare to do anything. He only dared to curse. I guess he's afraid that one day, Big Brother Tian will come back to settle the score with him. Lin Yi smiled faintly. There was a saying that a monk could run away, but not the temple. Even if they destroyed Tiandan Pavilion while the will of heaven was not around, the will of heaven would come back one day. If they were purely competing in business, then the will of heaven might not do anything to them. After all, as the deputy island master of Middle Island, he had to care about public opinion. However, if Jiao Huanshan dared to make a move on Tian Chan and the others, he would really be seeking his own death. When that time came, even if the will of heaven killed him to vent his anger, the medicine sect would not dare to stop him. They might even have to offer them up. This was a matter of life and death. Jiao Huanshan still weighed the pros and cons very clearly. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to become the deputy shopkeeper of the medicine sect. Even so, he's still despicable. He dared to come to our Tiandan Pavilion and steal our customers. This is too much. Sydney said angrily. She really couldn't swallow this. Although Tiandan Pavilion was supported by Tian Chan and Tian Chan was only in charge of alchemy. Sydney was the one in charge of the business. Only she knew how much effort and sweat had gone into it. For Tiandan Pavilion's reputation, she cared more than anyone else. Even Tian Chan could not compare, let alone Lin Yi. This time, because of Lin Yi's sudden appearance, although Jiao Huanshan had indeed received the punishment he deserved, and judging from the reactions of the crowd, it seemed like he hadn't stolen many customers, it still left an impact. Tiandan Pavilion still suffered a loss in the end. That's right. A kind person will be bullied, and a kind horse will be ridden. We can't just let this matter go like this. If we don't let the medicine sect suffer enough and learn their lesson, it won't be just the medicine sect in the future. Other large and small chambers of commerce will also follow suit. Then, we can forget about doing business, Lin Yi said with a nod. Then what do we do now? Do we go to their door to demand an explanation? Or should we just give them a taste of their own medicine and think of a way to steal their customers? Sydney asked hurriedly. That won't be necessary. Although it's not impossible to cause trouble at their door, it's still not a good idea. Lin Yi shook his head. With his powerful strength that could rival the early stage of the mountain opening stage, he wasn't afraid even if he faced the entire medicine sect alone. If the other party couldn't bring out enough experts, it was not impossible to bully them with their strength. However, this was ultimately not the best plan, because this way, the medicine sect would become the victim, and public opinion would unknowingly lean towards the medicine sect. Other than being able to vent their anger, there was no benefit to Tiandan Pavilion at all. Could it be that you've already thought of a good idea? Tian Chan and Sydney's eyes lit up at the same time. It's not a good idea. As long as you have absolute strength, any countermeasures and schemes are superfluous. Lin Yi smiled and changed the topic. Let's not talk about this. Let's first find out about the situation of the medicine sect. After reuniting after a long time, the three of them had a moment of warmth. Lin Yi then brought the two girls downstairs. Wei Shenjin, who had been waiting for a long time, hurriedly greeted him. Boss Lin Yi, you're finally here. Hee, you've worked hard during this period of time. Lin Yi smiled and nodded. He had just heard from Tian Chan and Sydney that Wei Shenjin had been coming to Tiandan Pavilion almost every other day for the past 2 years, and all this was just because of an order from Lin Yi before he left. It could be seen that this guy was indeed a loyal person, and saving him back then was not in vain. Boss, you're overpraising me. In fact, I just put in some effort, and I can't help much. Like today's matter, I can't do anything at all. Fortunately, boss, you came, or else I really don't know what to do. Wei Shenjin smiled bitterly. Don't blame yourself. This matter can't be blamed on you. After all, it's too much to ask you to deal with Jiao Huanshan. Don't worry, I'll handle it myself. Lin Yi comforted him, and then said, by the way, you're more familiar with this place. How about you help me find out about the specific situation of the medicine sect? Okay, boss, don't worry. Leave this matter to me. Wei Shenjin immediately patted his chest and accepted the order. It was not realistic for him to deal with Diao Huanshan, who was in the late nascent soul stage, but it was a small matter to ask for information. After all, he was a native of Middle Island. Wei Shenjin was extremely efficient. He went out for less than half an hour and came back. He couldn't wait to report to Lin Yi. Boss Lin Yi, I found out that the medicine sect invited the high-level alchemist from the East Continent is called Jing Dongsheng. I heard that he's Jing Dongjue's distant cousin. Jing Dongsheng? Lin Yi was slightly stunned when he heard this name. He felt that it was inexplicably familiar. After a while, he realized that the culprit who caused Qin Yu's tragedy, Jing Tianguang's father, the number 2 alchemist in Morning Star Academy, was called Jing Dongsheng. No wonder he wasn't in Morning Star Academy. He came to Middle Island to visit his relatives. Wait, isn't Jing Dongsheng from the Alchemy Hall? Since Jing Dongsheng is his distant cousin, why would he go to the medicine sect? I don't think the Alchemy Hall has a good relationship with the medicine sect, right? Lin Yi couldn't help but feel strange. He had heard from Kai Zhongyang that the Alchemy Hall didn't have a good relationship with the other businesses. If it wasn't for the alchemy god Zhang Liju, the Alchemy Hall, they would have been attacked by the other businesses a long time ago. Under these circumstances, why would an alchemist who had a relationship with the Alchemy Hall go to the medicine sect to concoct pills? Chapter 4979. Central Island is thousands of miles away from Dongzhou, and Tong Yangsua isn't related to this Jing Dongsheng at all. How did he manage to invite him to Central Island? Lin Yi was still confused. That's not strange. Medicine sect's headquarters may be here, but I heard that they're doing pretty well in Dongzhou as well, and they have connections with a lot of forces in Dongzhou. This Jing Dongsheng seems to be working with them, and that's why Tong Yangsua invited him here. Although he's Jing Dongjue's cousin, it's not like Jing Dongjue can control where he wants to go, Wei Shenjin explained. That's true. Lin Yi nodded, but he still felt that something wasn't right, but he couldn't put his finger on it. After a pause, Lin Yi turned to Xinyan and asked, right, how's the situation in the Hall of Elixir recently? Has Master Zhang been back these 2 years? No, he hasn't shown himself for a long time, and Jing Dongjue has been in charge of the Hall of Elixir these 2 years, Xinyan said with a sigh. This situation wasn't good for her, and Jing Dongjue still hadn't given up on her. Although, because of the threat of the will of heaven, Jing Dongjue wouldn't dare do anything for his grandson, but now that the will of heaven had gone to Dongzhou, and elixir god Zhang Liju was nowhere to be seen, the Hall of Elixir had almost become his rule. If Jing Dongjue wanted to do something bad, Tian Chan wouldn't be able to resist at all. Even if Zhang Liju's disciples like Ho Guanqi and Kai Zhongyang came out to help her, they still wouldn't be able to stop Jing Dongjue. Lin Yi was prepared for this answer, but he couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. Although he came to Central Island to see Tian Chan and Sydney, he still had a glimmer of hope. If he was lucky enough to meet Zhang Liju, then those sleeping beauties of his could be saved. Unfortunately, this was destined to only be a beautiful fantasy. Now, it seemed that it would not be easy to meet this cheap master of his. He had to admit that the time had not come yet. As they were talking, a commotion suddenly came from outside. Someone shouted loudly outside the door, "Who just beat up the people from our famous medicine sect? Hurry up and come out." Hearing this sudden noise, the guests in the Tiandan pavilion ran out one after another. Suddenly, a large group of onlookers gathered outside, pointing and talking. Today, the Tiandan pavilion and the medicine sect really clashed, and it was destined that there would be no peace here. Lin Yi, Tian Chan, and the others looked at each other and followed them out of the door. At a glance, they saw a middle-aged man surrounded by the crowd. When Lin Yi saw the symbol on the man's sleeve, he was immediately stunned. "You're the profound ascending stage master who injured Diao Huanshan." The middle-aged man's gaze fell on Lin Yi. "Yes, that's me." "Who are you from the Morning Star Academy?" Lin Yi frowned slightly. He did not want to damage the reputation of the Morning Star Academy because of this kind of thing, but if the other party refused to listen, then there was no other way. Kid, you better watch your mouth. Originally, I was only prepared to stop when the time was right, but if you really don't know what's good for you and provoke me, in the end, you will be the one to suffer. If you know what's good for you, hurry up and apologize. Let me give you a piece of advice, don't make a mistake. Zhao Yukei said with an unkind expression. Hee, I'll pass this on to you. Seeing that you are from the Morning Star Academy, I don't want to hurt you, so I can let you go. Lin Yi shook his head lightly and said. Don't want to hurt me? Ha ha ha, you're quite an interesting kid. You're not very strong, but you're very good at acting tough. A profound ascending primary stage actually wants to let me, a profound ascending middle stage, go. In front of so many people, such big words really come out of your mouth. Zhao Yukei laughed. You don't believe me? In any case, you are from the East Continent. Is it strange for you to challenge someone of a higher level? Lin Yi looked at him with a smile that was not a smile. That's right, this kind of thing is indeed very common in the East Continent where geniuses gather, but is this the East Continent? Don't you think carefully before trying to scare people? Or are you also from the East Continent? Zhao Yukei looked up and down at Lin Yi and said. Chapter 4980. What do you mean? Are you a disciple of the Morning Star Academy? Zhao Yukei was slightly surprised. This kind of thing was not impossible. This person was a rare profound ascending stage expert of Middle Island, and with one glance he could recognize that he was from the Morning Star Academy. Combining these two conditions, the possibility of this guy being a disciple of the Morning Star Academy was not low. It was already embarrassing enough for him to be a thug for the medicine sect. If he were to go against a disciple of the Morning Star Academy, how would he be able to stand in the Morning Star Academy in the future? I am a friend of your dean, Ling Yuanqing, and also the master of your chief alchemist, Qing Danzi. What do you think? Lin Yi said lightly. Ha 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 ha. Zhao Yukei suddenly rolled on the ground laughing as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world. He pointed at Lin Yi and said breathlessly, if you say you are a disciple of the Morning Star Academy, then at least you have some credibility. Maybe I will really believe it. I didn't expect you to be such an interesting person. You are actually a friend of our dean and the master of Qing Danzi. You should have a limit to your nonsense, right? Not only Zhao Yukei, but the surrounding people also felt that it was too ridiculous. Even if they did not know much about the Morning Star Academy, they at least knew what the dean and the chief alchemist represented. This person in charge of the Tiandan Pavilion was really good at boasting. I have already said what I need to say. I advise you to turn around and leave now. I can pretend that I have never seen you. Otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless. Lin Yi's expression was still calm as usual. He did not care about the people's sarcasm at all. You don't have to give me any face. However, seeing as you've spent so much effort to make up such a ridiculous lie, I can give you some face. At the very least, I can guarantee that I won't beat you to death. Zhao Yukei laughed unscrupulously. If that is the case, then there is nothing else to say. Lin Yi smiled helplessly. He had just come out of the Morning Star Academy, but he turned around and wanted to attack the Chancellor of the Morning Star Academy. He was really the only honorary dean like this. You are still pretending at this time? Kid, are you addicted to acting tough? Let me wake you up. Zhao Yukei sneered and was about to attack Lin Yi. However, before he could make a move, Lin Yi had already appeared within 10 feet in front of him in a flash. Lin Yi's ghost-like speed had startled him, a mysterious ascendant middle stage master. Before he could react, he received a heavy blow on his chest. His entire body flew out uncontrollably on the spot, and he was kicked out of the market street by Lin Yi. Hiss! The audience gasped one after another, and everyone looked at Lin Yi as if they were looking at a monster. This was a great expert of the profound ascension middle stage, How could he not even last one move in front of the owner of the Tiandan Pavilion? Could it be that he was the kind of trash who only had a level but no strength? Let's go in. Lin Yi turned his head and called out to Tian Chan and the others as if nothing had happened. With his current strength, he didn't need to use his trump cards to deal with ordinary profound ascension middle stage experts. Any combination of 3 attribute martial techniques was enough. Oh. Tian Chan and the others looked at each other and nodded in a daze. They had always known that Lin Yi was powerful, and it was common for him to challenge someone of a higher level. But even if it was the same level, the difficulty of the profound ascension stage was at least 10 times higher than the nascent soul stage. Not to mention, looking at Lin Yi's calm manner, he didn't even put the opponent of the profound ascension middle stage in his eyes. Just how strong was he? The Tiandan Pavilion is really unfathomable. The onlookers were completely stirred up at this moment. Although doing business was not directly related to strength, in this world where the weak were prey to the strong, people were still subconsciously more willing to believe those who were strong. At least their words were more reliable and more secure. Lin Yi had only arrived here for less than 2 hours. First, he slapped away the late nascent soul stage Jiao Huanshan, and now he kicked away the profound ascension middle stage Zhao Yuke. His strength was simply so strong that it made people's hair stand on end. It was equivalent to advertising for the Tiandan Pavilion twice. Not only did it not lose its popularity, it increased a lot. It was human nature to worship the strong. Since the Heavenly Dan Pavilion had such a valiant person in charge, it was naturally full of gimmicks. Many of the people who gathered here from all directions just wanted to catch a glimpse of this expert. As long as they were guided a little, these people would all become ready-made customers. Outside the market street, a miserable figure climbed up from the messy garbage heap. It was Zhao Yuke, who was kicked away by Lin Yi. For the sake of the Morning Star Academy, Lin Yi still left some leeway. Otherwise, he would have long been a corpse that no one cared about. But even so, Zhao Yuke still suffered quite a heavy injury. His heart was filled with shock, and he was starting to believe that Lin Yi had some sort of relationship with Morning Star Academy. After all, there weren't many geniuses at the profound ascension stage who could still easily challenge those of a higher level. Only in the East Continent were they more common. Limping back to the famous medicine sect, Tong Yangsua was accompanying Jing Dongxing to drink tea. When the two saw Zhao Yuke's appearance, they were shocked. Jiao Huanshan was like this before. Why was he, a profound ascension middle stage master, still like this? What's going on? Could it be that even you are not a match for that Lin Yi? Jing Dongxing frowned and said angrily. He was just boasting to Tong Yangsua that with Zhao Yuke's strength, it would be a piece of cake. Who would have thought that this would be the result? It was like slapping his own face in front of Tong Yangsua. No wonder he was angry. Master Zheng, I am incompetent. I am indeed not a match for him. Zhao Yuke said in shame. How could this be? Didn't Jiao Huanshan just say that Lin Yi is only at the early stage of the profound ascension stage? With the strength of you, Chancellor Zhao, who is at the middle stage of the profound ascension stage, you can't deal with him? Could it be that Jiao Huanshan was wrong about this bastard who can't do anything right? Tong Yangsua's face darkened. He had never looked at the Tiandan Pavilion in the eyes. These 2 years, he did not dare to act rashly because of the deterrence of the will of heaven. Now that the will of heaven had left, and he had invited experts like Jing Dongxing and Zhao Yuke from the East Continent, dealing with a mere Tiandan Pavilion should be a piece of cake. How could there be so many twists and turns? You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.